All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a patron Q&A. I hope you enjoy watching us blab, but I mean, that is kind of why you guys come to the channel, is to hear us blab. So here you can hear us blab about questions our patrons on Patreon blabbed about. Yep, that's my intro. I clearly practiced this.
We are professionals.
Yeah, I'm Eric. Joining me is Evgeny. What's up?
Hi, I'm Argent.
Hello. Also, we got Jay of Woo.
Jay of Woo. I'm Joshua.
And not coming to us in a Seon in a trench coat or in a box is Marvin. Hey, what's up? That was still some of the funniest things, especially because, like, I didn't remember that we recorded it like a month earlier, and then I'm watching it and just cracking up. If you didn't see that part one of the Jordan Con Mobs, that was good.
And today I was just too lazy to set up my green screen.
Yeah. I'm still not convinced that it's not just an image of somewhere else. Like, it almost, yeah. And lastly, very illuminated is David. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? How's it going? I am Windrunner on the forums.
Yes. All right. So, do note chat. I'm not sure how much we'll be able to answer questions in chat. I'll try and keep a look at that, but we want to get through as many of these questions as possible. We do kind of have a lot of them. We'll at least get to the first one each patron got to. So let's just head on into it. I have not set this up to show these on screen, so there you go. There might be a few more of us joining a bit later, which means I can't really use overlays. All right, so starting off, Mist Mage
Let's
asks, yes?
Let's do a quick spoiler policy.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Mm.
I definitely think full Cosmere spoilers, because there's definitely
Probably
Cosmere
everything,
questions.
right? Lux,
Yeah.
are we doing Lux
Can we
spoilers?
stay away from Rhythm of War, because I'm almost done. And
Get out. I don't think there are any Lux questions. I only saw Cosmere questions and questions for us. So I think
if there
it's
are Lux
all Cosmere.
questions, we'll have more difficulty.
I like how I just got totally spoiled for Lux by editing that podcast. So there you go.
I was wondering who was going to edit that one.
I don't think any of the editors that we have listened to Lux. So but that's okay. I'm the least spoiler averse. So
That is accurate.
all right, yeah. So Cosmere spoilers, Rhythm of War spoilers. Great. Thank you. So, Mist Mage asked, so one major thing I no longer understand after reading this book, Rhythm of War, is the Oathpact. Before Rhythm of War, I thought it made sense. Fused come during a desolation along with the heralds. Everyone fights. As fused die, they remain in Braze after they're all killed. Whatever heralds haven't died yet give up their lives and return to Braze. This description of the Oathpact makes complete sense and explains how the 9 heralds shifted it all on town. In the last desolation, they killed all the fused, but somehow everyone except Town survived. So they simply didn't join him in Braze, and the Oathpact held. Now, however, we find out it wasn't as simple. According to Leshwi, the fused were able to return at least a few times during each desolation because the heralds always spent some time teaching humanity basic life skills and tried to make sure they'd be okay. Only once they were satisfied, they returned to Braze to seal the fused away. This method leaves a lot of questions for me. If fused can return multiple times into desolation, does that mean some would be on Roshar after the heralds killed themselves and then would have to be hunted by humans and the Knights Radiant? I'm surprised someone like Raboniel didn't just hide for a few centuries and do her experiments. The biggest issue is how did the Oathpact get shifted to just Town? The way Lashwi describes it, the other 9 heralds just choosing not to go back to Braze wouldn't be enough to seal the fused away. It'd just be like any other time when the heralds stay behind a bit to help humanity, and the fused should have been able to return until all the heralds went back. The only thing I can think of is that Ishar did something to modify the Oathpact at that point, but I don't know what he could have done, because the way Kellic described it in Way of Kings, it was a spontaneous decision for all of them to abandon town. Also, side note, Honor was alive and probably mostly sane when this happened, so why did he let that happen? I doubt he could look past broken oaths given the nature of this shard, no matter how much the vessel Tanavast felt pity for the heralds. Okay, so that was our longest and beefiest question. Now I think I gotta just put it out there. There will eventually be a podcast on it. It is on our list. There is a lot of Herald and Desolation weirdness, like the Barrier Storm, that crap. We got to talk about that. We have not really deep dived into that, so I want to do that.
Wait till 2023.
Yeah, 2023. You'll get that Shardcast episode.
Probably.
But yeah, what do you guys think? I am also confused about the Desolations. Yes.
I have thoughts.
Okay.
I already pinged Miss Mage on Discord. I agree. I think that Brandon took a very simple desolation model and then was like, what if I just shook it a little bit and broke it a whole bunch?
Yeah.
But I am also confused. My biggest question is also I do not understand how or why the fused would ever let a majority of themselves be killed and potentially able to be trapped. If they were just really careful about how they engaged, particularly in the early desolations when it was just the heralds, it seems to me like they could have made for sure that there was never a majority of the fused trapped in damnation, and the heralds never would have had a good time to kill themselves. I don't recall if they all had to die or if just one had to die to begin the isolation. I thought it was just one, but I could be misremembering. It additionally makes the final battle, as we see it in the prelude, really, really weird because they seem to have won the desolation, but none of the heralds have killed themselves at all. So maybe there's a delay where they have a little bit of a week, a month to do that before the fuse start being able to come back. But seems weird. I do think Ishar was able to modify the oathpact himself probably pretty quickly. And I assume Honor didn't like it, and we see that reflected in the Stormfather later when he's like, I hated them for their broken oaths, but now I see yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
I have 2 things to add to that. And the 0th of those 2 things is that we just don't know. Like, there's a lot of unknowns here. It's very confusing. It doesn't seem clear. I don't think any one of us has like a clear picture of why things work the way they work post Rhythm of War. And so
absolutely.
the 2 things are, I do think Ishar could have modified things kind of on the fly. Like maybe it would have taken him, I don't know about minutes, but hours. Certainly he could have done it in a day if he had an idea of what he's doing. And 2, regarding fused returning during prior desolations, when Lezian returns at the end of Rhythm of War, one of the first things he says after he screams for 5 minutes is that it had only been, I think, hours or days, he says, that he had spent on Braze before he felt the pull. And so I had initially interpreted that as a way of, like, when I first read that, it made me think of the way cognitive shadows.
Ooh, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Feel a pull towards the beyond the longer they spend in the cognitive realm.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking maybe there's some connection thing going on where fused on Roshar can effectively summon their brethren and sister then from Braze. But if there are not enough fused on Roshar, then either it takes forever or there needs to be a new desolation or whatever. So something to that effect, I think, is the mechanism that allows fused to return, or that used to allow fused to return, and now the Everstorm somehow bypasses that.
Yeah. Surely there must be like a cooldown if you kill a fused, like in the olden desolations. Like they couldn't come back super quickly. Like I imagine maybe Odium could force a fused to come back, maybe with the Shardic powers, but probably Honor and Cultivation are like, you know, going to counter what Odium does, right? So that's kind of maybe why Odium can't just like willy-nilly like move a fused back, whereas it definitely feels like with moving the Pursuer back, Odium just kind of like yeah, no, let's put him back. Let's see what happens. And so like he can do that, and with Honor dead, like that obviously gets easier to do, right?
Mm-hmm. I did look it up, and it says the heralds killed themselves to activate the isolation. So it's not just one, at least seemingly in that phrasing. So
yeah, and I mean, in the prelude, like Ishar thinks that this plan will work to break the oathpact, right? That's what he thinks, at least,
or at least to free them from it.
Yeah, so that is man, we're not gonna know any of this crap even in book 5. Like back half's herald stuff, right? Like that's where we're gonna learn about this.
We might though. I don't know. Dalinar's very oathpacty right now. Like he's
That's
like,
true.
I want to talk about the oathpact.
I mean, I guess that's true. Yeah, they're like literally, let's reforge the oathpact right now. Yeah, because that'll really. It's a great plan. The oathpact, always a good plan. But yeah, I mean, clearly the fused can come back multiple times, and I think that was the interesting thing about Lesian. So I hope there are some good answers and it's not just Brandon contorting his world building just to make Lesian an interesting villain.
I think there's room for an explanation. It's just there's just so many unknowns. That...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we still don't know, like, it's a hide and seek game on Braze, right? Like we really don't know. Kind of maybe
it is,
but there's a barrier storm, and it's just a lot of weird things going on here. And we definitely need to do a full podcast on this. I think
it comes up a lot. Like it came up with when Brandon revealed that Talon did not break. I've been in a lot of conversations where this, what role did the Everstorm play in things, and like what triggered the heralds to come back if a herald didn't break.
Apparently a lot of people read it as the Everstorm as a bypass, which I never liked that, so I'm bitter. But whatever, that's fine. I feel like that shouldn't be able to work. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's not what Ulam says.
But if Talon didn't break and we reject Parchalon as being too complicated.
No. Look, Chana being Shalon's mom is actually a great way to make that all work, Oh,
man. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, I said Parchalon, didn't I? That was even worse. Yeah.
The theory that Shalon is a Parshendi. Oh, a singer. Yeah.
The layers just keep going deeper.
Oh, and there's one other aspect with Honor still being alive. Like, I don't know. It does sort of feel like Odium and Honor. How much control do they have over their mortal? I mean, mortal air quotes, right? Not exactly. Mm-hmm. But like, there are things that Dalinar asked Odium to do this, and Odium's like, I literally cannot. I can't force my fuse to do a thing, right? So if the heralds really wanted to do a thing, then maybe he just couldn't do anything about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like he's not controlling the fused like puppets.
Yeah, right.
He can resort to violence to like coerce them into doing things, but he can't actually control them.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Cool. Well, I promise, Miss Mage, that will be a podcast at some point. Not in 2021, though. Basically, all our 2021 podcasts are completely spoken for. By the way, while we're on the stream, I just wanted to talk very briefly. I probably should have done this in the intro. But next week, we will get the Kaladin Shardcast episode, long delayed. I think we recorded that in June. So there's a lot of stuff. There were a lot of Words of Brandon episodes and things. So that'll be that one. We actually recorded a Shardcast yesterday. That was a live streamed one to patrons. So if you are a patron, you can watch that, and that will come out October 9th. And yeah, there's like basically 2 free slots, and then we get to Cytonic and Status Anderson and stuff like that. And then the year's over. That's it. So that's kind of our plan. All right, next question. Some dude named Argent says Argent. Argent, yes, right.
Argent.
Or like Argent.
Argent, yeah.
Argent.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Kramer.
Hey, longtime patron, love the work you do. The Argent guy is great. Great hair, love his handsome face, entertaining demeanor, and unbridled wit. Patreon goal cruise vacation when? And I don't know. Maybe that'll be our $10,000 goal. I mean, if we make $10,000 a month, yeah, I guess we can do a bunch of cruises. That will never happen.
No, we'll be on the cruise and we'll record there and just send it back to you.
Oh yeah, everyone knows cruises have excellent internet access. But I mean, we could record, locally.
I mean, writing excuses does that, right? How much could a cruise possibly cost?
Well, we could all get COVID.
Yeah. Maybe we'll leave that a few years.
But Paleo, put yourself on a cruise on one of your green screen intros.
Yep. All right. Jared Henderson asks. He says 2 questions. What is your favorite debunked Cosmere theory? So we'll start with that. We'll do the second one after.
I have an answer to that.
Okay.
So this was not a very popular theory. Like he was in the middle tiers. Like he was not some obscure thing. But listeners, if you think back to the Bands of Mourning,
yep,
the book.
Okay, yeah.
There's a conjure there, by the name of Vendel, who shows up and tries to get Wax to go and find the bands and find Drillur's spike. And Vendel appears a few times in the first few chapters of the book. And he's dressed like a modern man and he wears a coat. And his coat is described with a different shade of brown or tan every time. And each subsequent appearance describes the coat in a lighter shade of brown or tan. So like he starts wearing, for example, a brown coat, and then the next time we see him, the coat is described as being light brown, and then tan, and then beige.
What?
I don't remember the exact
What? I just reread it, didn't even notice. That's really subtle.
Yeah. And so for a period of time, I think it may have been several months, some of us were convinced Vendel was an awakener. And we were convinced that every time he showed up, like the fact that his coat
is draining
kept
the color,
bleaching of color meant that
he
he had been awakening behind the scenes. And ultimately, Brandon or maybe Peter said that, oh no, he's just changing coats. Which, what?
What?
But yeah, that's my favorite theory that ended up not being a fact.
Wow. I did not notice that at all.
I still haven't noticed it. I read it and I'm like, I know it's there, and I'm like, oh, haven't seen it.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in bands though. Like who's that dude that died on that train that that suit was like...
Oh yeah, we're gonna find out. Yeah. I'm not gonna let that go.
Are we?
What happened to the girls?
Huh?
What happened to the girls as well?
What happened to the girls? They're spikes now.
Yeah, they're spikes.
Probably. Man, I can't think of like one that I read was really good. Like it all kind of sort of blends together, and I don't really remember like how I truly felt in like 2013 anymore, like pre Words of Radiance time. Like that was a long time ago, so it's kind of rough for me to remember things. But if I'm allowed to bring up my own theory, I'm still a little sad that misfabrials aren't the mechanical way of doing the Allomancy and Ferrochemy in the South. I thought that was pretty solid. I still think that is possible if you do some certain things to the mists. It's energy. You can use it. Any other debunked Cosmere theories that you loved?
My memory's bad enough. And I feel like I tend to dismiss things like after they're proven, after they're disproven. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and then it's like exclude from my memory. Yeah, exactly.
I will also. I'll throw out one of mine. For a while, I was wondering if Helleran might still be alive. Because there's a lot of like vagary in the description of like who Kaladin killed, and there's some different things like was I going to say? Like he was supposed to be involved with the Skybreakers, and so I had kind of this idea that like he had like leveled up and become a Skybreaker and like left the shards to somebody else who just happened to be Veden and look like him, and then Brandon was going to be like, oh, he's still here, but no, he's dead.
Don't worry, he could be a cognitive shadow, maybe.
I think back to Rhythm of Previews. So when Fel and I had a lot of theories about what Eurythmium might end up actually being, or like what's the secret there.
Yeah.
I remember one that Fel had that like it's a giant instrument or whatever.
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun back then. And I mean, it wasn't really a theory or anything, but it was a fun thought.
That is quite fun, given the singing. Like,
yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rhythm of Previews was really fun. All right.
Shout out to your theory is a spaceship.
Yeah.
From chat.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
Oh yeah. That is
missed opportunity is what that is, Brandon.
Yeah.
I guess another theory in that similar or in that vein would be that Eshona is still alive or around as a cognitive shadow of whatever that made Ben eat a shoe. Because
yeah. I mean that's quality. That's quality. Then Jared Henderson also asks, what will be more exciting for you, learning Hoid's backstory or seeing Thydakar back on screen?
Oh, easy Hoid.
Yeah, I think it's an easy Hoid as well, but I have no doubt we'll see plenty of Kelsier. Whereas Hoid's backstory is like deep mystery, And like, what the hell is even canonical? Like, I don't even know anymore. It's like, oh, he was a Dawn Shard. Like, what the hell does that mean? We'll have to do a Dragonsteel Prime episode when when we get that with the Words of Radiance.
Let me do a tangential question off of that. Would you rather get Hoid's backstory like shattering, or would you rather get what has Hoid been up to since then?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, because like Brandon's whole thing is that Hoid is doing stuff and we'll learn about it eventually, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we don't really know what or why, other than getting magic, I guess.
So I think I would be more interested in his story post-shattering. Just because I think there's more of it and there's more like dynamic and interesting stuff that he's doing. Yeah. Whereas I think his story pre-shattering is mostly, him acquiring a little bit of magic, him being cool and interesting, and then maybe acquiring a Dawn Shard and then meeting up with the vessels and then doing things. Like, it's not uninteresting. Obviously, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in the lead up to the shattering. But there's so much more stuff that has happened since.
Like, I do want to know the relationship Hoid has with all the other vessels and like what that was like, So,
what was the question? Sorry, I had some audio issues. In case people, for close viewers paying attention to me, looking confused.
Now you have cans on your ears.
Oh yeah.
The question was, what will be more exciting for you, learning Hoid's backstory or seeing Thydakar back on screen? And we kind of went on a tangent. Would we be more interested in Hoid's backstory pre-shattering or what he's up to post-shattering? Like, what's he been doing behind the scenes?
Oh, definitely post. Yeah, you guys are right. This is the correct answer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. I am excited to see Kelsier back on screen and like hopefully be a villainous figure in Era 3. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's gonna be really fun, especially if like it'd be really cool if we got like POVs from like protagonists, but also POVs of like Kelsier or his underlings, so we get to see their side of it. I love the Elantris gimmick of like seeing Hrathen, the villain, and seeing his viewpoint. I love any story that does that. I love that gimmick. And seeing our players, interact and try and foil each other's plans. Oh man, give me that. That sounds great.
See, I don't know that I want to see Kelsier be a villain. I think I'd rather him be a third party that's kind of like probably working against the antagonist, but also at the same time conflicting with what Sazed wants or with what the protagonists want.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Mist Mage, we're gonna get to a bunch of yours ones later. But I appreciate all your questions. They are all good questions, but we'll get to some other patrons. James Kitchens asks, what would be your wish list for the Dragonsteel minicon, and how long do you believe the word mini will stay in that title? I'll start. I mean, mini probably for this one, and then we get some Cosmere releases, and definitely by Stormlight 5, it will not be mini. That much is for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard to say. I know a lot of us are not going to the minicon due to the COVID restrictions. Like literally, I got COVID at JordanCon.
Lack thereof.
Yeah, lack thereof. Yeah, sorry. That is an important clarification. Like JordanCon had vaccine mandate. I still got COVID there. I didn't pass it to anyone, which was fantastic. Like literally no one that I interacted with, which is great. But yeah, I don't know if I want to travel for that. But so maybe later. But best of luck for those of you coming there. But yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't go to the Oathbringer release, which was kind of the last one that was like a big con. They just didn't brand it as a con, and now they're like, I mean, the release party's basically a con, so let's just call it a con. They wanted to do that for Rhythm of War, but they didn't get a chance to. So I don't really know what's going on anymore.
I think in terms of a wish list, what I would like to see is, obviously this is the first time they're doing this in a more official capacity, like calling this a convention. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error. What I would like to see by the time Stormlight 5 rolls around, or by the time Mistborn Era 3 rolls around and they start doing those things, I would like to see them kind of embrace the convention mentality. And so they have like dedicated, like a comprehensive schedule with maybe not necessarily different tracks, but different panels, essentially. So you have Brandon has, a panel or 2 panels on each one of the days of the convention, and then Isaac has a few, and other people from Dragonsteel also have dedicated panels, and then all of the like guests of honor, let's say, also have, so like Ben McSweeney will have a panel maybe and stuff like that, Howard Lyon, etc.
Yeah, so like they did it for Rhythm of War just in person, because they did have videos from
very similar to that.
Yeah.
Because my impression from just looking at the schedule and the guests and the website they have right now is it looks like they are, like, Brandon has his own things, but most of the other people are just kind of thrown in a booth somewhere, which is a lot more reminiscent of like a large convention like DragonCon, where only a few dedicated people can have a panel, and then everyone else is, okay, this is your spot. If people come talk to you, great. And I think the fact that this is nowhere near as big of a convention means that they can afford to, like, essentially give every guest or every notable guest a spot in the spotlight. A time in the spotlight.
Yeah. Chat comment was like, I hope if they do this again, they'll give more notice so international fans can make it. I do agree. It's pretty late to be announcing the concrete details. Like basically only people in the US can get there. Like 2 months is kind of rough for getting time off for something. And flights and stuff. So I agree.
I think that's partially because I think they think of it as a signing, but it's not really a signing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's their first one, so I would assume they will give more notice later as they get more comfortable with these things. So that's good. It's interesting to see how it'll progress. Yeah, and there was another comment in chat about it kind of sucks it's Tuesday. Yeah, I agree, because I'm a teacher. I can't like take a Monday, a Tuesday, and travel back on Wednesday. Like that's kind of rough. But what they're planning to do, my understanding, like this is that week of Thanksgiving, right? And so my school's actually switching to a thing where they get the entire week of Thanksgiving off, so I will eventually be able to go to these, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's why I couldn't go to the Oathbringer release party for that reason.
It's probably always going to be on a Tuesday, right? Though, because that's really tied to the book release.
It is.
Thing,
it is. Books release in the U.S. on Tuesday. That's just how it works.
And then the question becomes: will they be willing to decouple this convention from the book release it is tied to? And I think at some point they will have to, right? Because sometimes I think this is going to get to the point where there's so much demand for this to be an annual thing, and we are not going to have a big annual. Like, I don't think they're going to do this for Alcatraz 6, for example.
That's going to be in
and so I think if we look, 5-10 years down the line, this becomes its own convention, and they schedule it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or like Friday, Saturday, something like that.
I could see that. I think also just calling it a convention is somewhat like self-reinforcing. Like if they start branding this as a convention, names do matter, and people will start going like, oh, I want to go to this convention, and start having certain expectations about what a convention is. And so it seems like unless Brandon has a sudden decline in popularity, which you never know, but I think this is probably going to continue to grow pretty quickly.
Yep. Cool. So Doomstick asks, how do y'all pronounce, and I'm just going to put this in chat, because kind of me saying it out loud is kind of an issue. I say Tamil Yippee. So for those of you who don't know the story behind this, so on occasion we do after dark streams where we swear, and those are to patrons. And this is a thing Gray typed because she got very drunk, and she's hilarious when very drunk. And I think it was like "love you." That was what she's trying to type. I think.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, I say Tamil Yippee. So.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm as well.
Yeah,
Tamil Yippee.
I say Tamil Yuppie, I think.
Okay. All right.
I don't say it. I've never tried to pronounce it.
There you go. You refuse to play the game. All right. Jeremy Cook asks, how does everyone feel about further combinations of shards? I know you've said a lot about how it's been done already, and to do it again from a storytelling point wouldn't be interesting. I feel it's almost inevitable. There are going to be multiple factions warring to either keep the shards split up or power grabs for whoever's owns uses. I don't think I said this right. Whatever, that's fine. All sides are going to have wins and losses, or it wouldn't be interesting. Just my 2 cents worth anyway. What do you think?
I think we need to have at least one other hybrid shard or dual shard, combined shard, whatever, in the future. So I don't think the Cosmere needs to turn into this pyramid where, okay, we started with 16 individual shards, and then we get to the point where there's like 8 hybrid shards, and then they fight and then become 4. I don't think that's an interesting path forward. I do think there needs to be like 2 or 3 to balance out Sazed in some ways. Like, it's good for hybrid shards to be rare, but I don't think they need to be unique.
I would say I think that a lot of the reason that we got in Rhythm of War was Brandon wanting to explain hybrid shards to us in a more concrete way with what we saw with the sibling.
That's true. Yeah.
I think we will see more. I think it's going to be still fairly rare because I think it's tricky to have if you're not picking them both up in the same moment, to have the correct connection to another shard that you could possibly pick it up while you're already so connected to another shard. And I think my main hesitancy to it, and I'm hopeful that Brandon wouldn't do this again, is I don't want to see that as the resolution to a shard conflict. Like if 2 shards merge and it creates an even worse thing, or it creates a whole new set of problems or a whole new interesting circumstance, totally down. I just don't want honor and odium to become war, and that seems like it could create its own consequence. But I just don't want it to resolve itself that way. I think it should lead to other problems.
That'd be a good way of doing it. Like like you could imagine something with like odium cultivation, right? And Teravangian has that. It's like, oh well, that's even less good. Great, right? But I mean, I'm sure Brandon will be aware that he can't just have it be like Hero of Ages, right? That he's got to switch things up. I do think there will be another hybrid shard. Don't really know how Brandon's going to wrap up the Cosmere. Seems like there's a lot of shards to deal with. So, good luck with that, Brandon.
Should have gone with 12.
Yeah. Fogspawn asks, okay, inspired by something Chaos said in Discord. Ooh. What do you guys speculate is the big Cosmere talk Brandon said we'll have post Stormlight 5 in State of the Sanderson 2020? Yeah, so he did talk about this in that State of Sanderson where he said that after Stormlight 5 there will be some a talk that he has
we need to have the talk.
What do you guys think? Because I have an idea, but
I have an idea.
I think my idea is the same as your idea and may have been just taken from that. I think it has to do with like spoilers and interconnectedness of the books. I think come Stormlight 5, Brandon's going to be like, okay, once we go into Mistborn Era 3 and Stormlight 6, you will now need to know more things about other worlds. To properly not only enjoy but understand what is happening in these series.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Because like things will get more interconnected, like right.
It's basically, I think, going to move away from like at the moment the cosmic connections are sort of Easter eggs for us who know, and then they'll become okay. It's obvious that I don't know this person comes from Schedule or whatever over to Rosha.
Or like,
I think is what
you absolutely have to read Warbreaker because like stuff with Vasher will be like super relevant. Like even with Rhythm of War chapter 15, like we know it's Awakening, but I think Brandon does have a point in that annotation where he's like, well, it's just like a magic user doing weird things, and like we wouldn't necessarily think that that's super weird if it was like, oh, it's a weird Gandalf type figure doing weird stuff. It's just we know this from somewhere else, but I don't know how easy of a way it would be to, talk about, oh, the Return giving their breath away to heal someone. Like, that's very Warbreaker-y, right? Like, that would be very hard to naturally sink in, and you just got to be like, you got to read the other stuff. I'm
still very skeptical that Stormlight 6 through 10 will switch to like needing other books. I admittedly I have no idea what Brandon's thinking when he says we need to have a talk. I don't know what that's about. Maybe that is what he needs to say, but I don't know. I just the plan from the beginning was like you're not going to need to read everything else to do this, and I still think that Mistborn Era 4 he's going to save it like the you need to read everything first for that, and it might be like hey, there's going to be more of these and you just need to get used to the fact that you're maybe not going to understand these little things. I'm one of these people that's very strongly of the opinion that Rhythm of War has a lot of Cosmere stuff in it, but if you haven't read those books, you're going to be totally fine. I don't think that will change. There might be more of those kind of weird things, more of those like, oh, here's something for like, we're getting to the point in Stormlight where they're saying, hey, there's other worlds, there's other people from other worlds, there's magic from other worlds. And so within Stormlight, you can say, hey, there's this person from this other world that's got magic from this other world. And it's not you need to read these other books to even understand. It's just going to be,
there's a weird dude,
less information about it.
Yeah. I know Jess, she's not here right now, but she really thought Rhythm of War went over that line. And for different people, that's going to be different. And I think you could definitely make the argument that Rhythm of War has a lot of Cosmere stuff. Because, like, I mean, you're not wrong. That might be a good podcast, actually, to talk about this, honestly.
Yeah, my opinion is, I guess, I don't think I've ever seen somebody who's not a hardcore Cosmere fan complain about other stuff. It's only the people who know everything and are saying, hey, these people don't know all the things that I know. And I don't think that like normal people who read only Stormlight have that same realization. The only time I've seen somebody say that was somebody who was like browsing Reddit and it was like, I don't understand what you people are all talking about. What did I miss? And it's kind of like they're thinking they're missing out on more than they know that there's things that they don't know. And I don't think normal readers realize that.
All the big emotional moments are purely Stormlight, right? At the end. And I think that will still be true for a lot of things.
I think, just to like turn it a little bit, a similar opinion, but is that Brandon could keep a similar level of involvement where we're like, oh, there are these other planets and whatnot, but there might be enough that you're potentially getting spoilers for early books.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
that could be oh, hey, you like, just so you know, in Stormlight 6, they're going to talk about Harmony specifically, and you're going to know that there are Twinborn maybe, and you're going to realize if you read Era 1 later, you're like, oh man, the magic really changed, or something like that. Or like, you know, if we learn more about Warbreaker or Vasher and Vivenna, you could be like, oh, clearly this is how Warbreaker wraps up, you know. So I think it could be plot spoilers more than anything else. Or Brandon's going to be like, I've gotten really tired of the Cosmere. I'm just going to skip the second half of Stormlight and I'm just going to go right to Era 3.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very interested. When Brandon's like, we need to have a talk, that's like, oh, this is going to be spicy, baby? Because after Stormlight 5, I do think Brandon will be a lot less cagey about certain things.
Yeah.
All right. Thaddeus asks, and I know another patron asked this much lower in this as well. If you could ask Brandon one question, and no, it would not be Rafa no matter what would it be? I like this one. This is good.
That's a great question.
I have an answer. I've been thinking about this. I would just ask Brandon to tell me everything about Ba'ada Mishram. I know, that's very surprising for all of you. But I'm just like, tell me like what she did. Will she be awesome? What's her role in the plot? Tell me everything about Ba'ada Mishram. That's what I'd do.
I think what I am most interested in are the events around the shattering of Adonalsium. So I am interested in Adonalsium himself, the Dawn Shards and how they played into that, and how they resulted in the shard. Like that pyramid is what I want to know.
What are the other Dawn Shards? What are the last two shards? Like that, those are definitely high up there too.
I think because like the shattering and the remaining shards and stuff like that, that's things that we can actually read and find out eventually. Like that's going to be covered eventually. So I'm trying to think of stuff that we'll probably never get an answer to otherwise.
Luther.
I sort of think of
Luther.
Luther was the first thing that came to mind. Because I don't think Ben will ever actually answer that.
I agree. I don't think that's ever happening either.
Yeah.
David?
And so I'd ask something like that, yeah.
That's a good one. I kind of have two.
Okay.
Because one is just for my like idle curiosity. I would like him to explain the evil to me because I love Trinity.
That's true.
I want to know, and I'm like, maybe you'll never write this novel, Brandon, so we got to know. Or I would, if we're thinking about deep classical Scadrial, I would love for him to explain where the terrorist prophecies came from and how they were altered over time.
That's a good one. It's a good one. Origin of Fair Chemi, always weird. Josh, did you have one?
Yeah, well, so I'll do two quick ones.
Yeah.
One would be void binding.
Oh yeah. Just like, can you just explain void binding to me because I don't understand.
Like that's a thing that's like it's coming, but like I don't know. I want like a hint. I want something to like work with.
Yeah.
And then if this includes like stuff that he probably just hasn't like made up or doesn't remember, then I want some like more Rasharan history.
Yeah.
What's happened in year 0?
Yeah, that's the top of my like what is up with the Rasharan calendar? Like everybody uses this calendar, and I asked Brandon like what's going on in this, and like what made this,
except for the Horn-Eaters, presumably.
Well, so I just want to know like what happened to that.
Yeah. Chat says Vax. Vax is pretty good one. Like what is up with Vax?
I want to riff off of something David said. So going off of the Terry's prophecies, I would like to know more about the previous Heroes of Ages.
Yes. There were previous ones, some amount of them. That is, Brandon's very cagey about, but at least more than one.
Yeah, like how does that work?
Yeah.
Do they ascend to a specific shard? Do they just dip in the well? Obviously, presumably they don't like ascend to the shards because Laris and AT are original vessels. But like, what are these heroes for?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh man, those are very good ones. Magnus asks, do you think Brandon has ever seen a fan theory and just gone with it? As in, well, that was much more clever than my idea. Let's just roll with that.
No.
Yeah. Like, not as a substitute for whatever he was planning.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think he's said that the most that happens is somebody asks him a question and he goes, oh, what an interesting question. Yeah. What do I think about that? Whereas I think Brandon's got at least macro pretty hard and fast ideas about how things are supposed to go and what he wants to do. And I mean, like, even if he did, people would never admit to that, but I don't think that's how Brandon works. So
yeah, I think on the last stream, Brandon, he talked about you, Evgeny, which is very funny. But Brandon was talking about how he's like, if people guess my twists, that's fine. I put the foreshadowing in there intentionally, and that's not a bad thing, and I don't need to make it more twisty or crazy. But I do, there are absolutely things where I think someone asks a question, and it's such a weird edge case that I don't know if Brandon always, knows about things in advance, and he's just spitballing. And the example he also said was, Shallan's bisexuality, where, he sort of wrote it that way, but it wasn't, an intentional thing, and once he realized that, then he's more intentionally putting it in. So I think it's more like that.
Yeah, I think one thing where he intentionally picked it up was the shard fork, right? That's something that's just a fun idea a fan had. I think.
Okay, sure.
There was something there, but I mean, that's just a fun thing to do. It's not really any deep lore.
Yeah, it's not a deep lore, but it's just it's a fun application of things that he already set up.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh man, this next one. Well, we don't have Ben or Grace for this, so don't know how much I can say, but Lyriel asks, hi, fresh patron, longtime YouTube follower here. Just finding out how things work. Can you tell me about who's that Cosmere character? How do you choose which one to go for in a given episode? How many do you have in each queue? Can people who have submitted their prompts know for sure that one day you will get to their prompt, or are you skipping some that you don't consider good for some reason? I have noticed that Ben always has more interesting takes on the prompts, for example, so that made me wonder. So I can't tell you how much is in the queue because I do not have access to the queue because often I am playing in them, so I can't answer that. I believe it's 200 in the regular queue, I think. That's the number I last remember. And Ben did tell me that the priority ones had 5, and we recorded one yesterday, so that's 4. So that one I can say. How do you choose which one to go for? So I think there's a few different aspects. One, the character needs to be guessable, right? You need to you can't just give 5 vague clues, right? And then it's oh, it's this person, and it not narrowed down, right? The clues need to be accurate. So if there is an inaccuracy, I know Ben and Grace sometimes go to the Coppermine page as we're grabbing the Who's That Cosmere characters and just be like, is that true? So things that are, false, okay, we'll just skip those. It seems to me we used to go in order, but now Ben and Grace just kind of randomly pick things. I don't know if it will be possible to notify people when we do their prompts, but I can pitch that to them. There's a lot of them, and I imagine there's a lot that have been skipped at this stage. But
we kind of have to. Right?
Yeah.
Because as we grow as a community, the number of new submissions is going to keep growing. And so if we don't skip things, it's going to take exponentially more time to get to newer submissions.
And that was the idea with the patron priority queue. So if you don't know, the heralds on Patreon in our highest tier, they can submit Who's That Cosmere characters, and so we're adding another Who's That Cosmere character. So there will be 3. Not on the Kaladin episode, because when we recorded that, these patron tiers didn't even exist. So that's fine. But yeah, so there are just a lot of them. So we have to be a bit choosy. We do eventually get to most of them, I think. It just might be 18 months later. Hey. I think we're past 2020, I think. The ones Ben gave me yesterday were like from February, so that's pretty good. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know how that works. So sorry Ben and Grace aren't here to
I think
really
that
dig into that.
Another way to get one skip potentially is if you send 2, if you hear your one, you probably won't hear the second one at some point unless they're like a fun gimmick. Because I think they look at which ones are unread and they pick, if they click on a new email, if there's 2 in there, they pick their favorite of the 2. So the other one probably won't come up.
Yeah. It is probably best if there's not like a gimmick. It's like, oh, these 2 are limericks or something. Then it's like, okay, that's fine. That'll be on whatever Who's That Cosmere character one. But we don't do the Who's That Cosmere character game show ones very frequently. I think we've done 4 of them ever. So that's not that many. And so there's probably just a few gimmicky ones. And Ben's like, oh, I gotta find the gimmicks.
He does like that.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, so send them separately. Man, there was something else that I was thinking about regarding this, but I can't remember. So I guess we'll just move on. All right. Claire32 asks, there's 2 questions, but if you could shield a character and ensure he or she survives Book 5 of Stormlight Archive, who would you choose and why? So you cast Protect on them and they will survive. Only to die off screen. Oh, Rushu? Oh, yeah. Rushu's good. Oh, old lady Rushu sounds amazing, by the way. Just imagine old lady, cranky old lady Rushu. Incredible. Kaladin, you said, David?
Kaladin for sure. Or maybe Kaladin's little brother, if we're being really worried about stuff.
Yes.
I was going to say he already died, and then I remembered that he's got a new one.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine Kaladin losing another little brother?
Yeah.
Oh no,
that's in book 6.
That's Game of Thrones. That's how dark. That's outside where Brandon goes.
Maybe we need a stressful moment where Kaladin needs to protect Ordon, though. That's plausible. Who? I really want to see Adolin. Like, let's assume Dalinar dies, okay? Or is like somehow, or ascends, or becomes a fused, whatever. He is no longer the leader of the Knights Radiant and is inaccessible, let's say. I really want to see Adolin, like, be a ruler without, Dalinar being over his shoulders and seeing what that's like. Like, I would be very interested in that. So I want to choose Adolin, but also, like, Shallan has a lot of good world hopping that she could do if she just figures out how to leave. And that is also awesome. And just so you guys know, Era 2 is after Stormlight front half, right? So if Shallan figures it out, I mean, Hoid got off planet. Shallan has access to Hoid, right? Through Yasna, right? We could have already seen Shallan somewhere else. Like, that is plausible. Granted, how do you get the Stormlight to do the light weavings? Okay, there's some problems with that, but still possible. The light weavings are very good. So either Shallan or Adolin for me.
I think who I want to survive is Syl, because like we have the prospect of Spren dying, actually dying now. So
you don't want to kill Kaladin and have Syl wander around, losing her mind again.
And the other way around either. So, like,
yeah.
Syl killed and Kaladin, no.
Yeah. Any others?
I just feel like Brandon is going to break some hearts with
book
the
5?
5th book.
Oh, yeah. Someone's dying.
Yeah.
And it's probably Kaladin or Dalinar.
and I think
Take
it's
those
somebody
words out of your mouth.
Or Syl. Let's kill Syl. Oh, wait, no. Watch the Daniel Green episode where he's like, oh, yeah, let's kill Syl. That'll be great.
What a monster!
I have a hard time choosing on this because I feel like I really trust Brandon to to use the characters well, and if there's a death, it's going to be like a good story death.
Yeah,
and so I don't know that I want to pick somebody to prevent him from killing in a really good way.
Yeah, that's fair, right? Because you don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to have like, oh, well, I always meant them to die in this specific way, and that would be really an emotional moment, but then just like ruin that. No fake out deaths.
That. No, Kaladin lives. Sorry.
Okay. Cool. And question 2 from Claire32 is favorite alcoholic beverage of choice. Evgeny, why don't you lead this up on that one?
Well, why would you ask me to take that question?
I don't know.
Broadly speaking, whiskey. More specifically speaking, for the past several months, I have really enjoyed bourbon, like high proof bourbon with tonic water, just mixed.
Nice. I guess. I don't know. I haven't had that, but I like the sweetest drinks, the drinks that I cannot taste the booze in, preferably. So my go-to for a long time was Captain Morgan and Coke or Dr. Pepper. It's always classic. But now I tend to be doing amaretto and ginger ale. So like some Di Serono.
Amaretto is...
Yeah, it's really good. And you can put some rum in like some strawberry lemonade fruit punchy thing. You won't taste a dang thing, and you can suck that down and then be like, wow, I am really drunk. Because you just don't even taste the booze. It's just juice. It's like, wow, this is great. I don't want to taste the booze. I don't like beer. I want the fruitiest, girliest drinks. Because they taste great.
You might end up liking the thing that I'm drinking. Because it's not... like you can taste a little bit of the whiskey, but it's nowhere near dominant as like if you were drinking it neat.
Chat, by the way, says Jonathan Whitmore says, Lost Metal Chapter 1, my name is Sean Devar. How much do you know about the Cosmere? Yeah. So that'd be great. I don't think that would happen, but that would be crazy. That would be a reason why all Dragonsteel's like, wow, Lost Metal's really crazy. It's like, Shallan just appears there. Like, okay, all right, great.
Wild.
My go-to drink is Long Island iced tea.
Oof.
Gin is probably my favorite liquor.
Oh, and Marvin, like you don't drink.
Yeah, I don't.
I could drink it neat. I could drink gin and tonic, whatever.
But some time ago, we did do a whiskey tasting with some friends, and I did quite enjoy it. Was scotches, and I think Lafroig or whatever it's called. That was.
Oh, you people and.
I imagine Evgeny and Jess will have many Scotch and whiskey recommendations for you, because that is
the problem is it seems like everyone else enjoys the smoky, peaty whiskeys, and I don't. I really hate smoking my whiskey. So
I really hate smoking my whiskey. Okay,
smoke in my whiskey.
Smoke the whiskey. Burn it in a pipe.
It's not good for you.
No, probably not.
No. If I'm getting a mixed drink, I usually go with like a whiskey sour, although Long Island will do it if I'm ready to go. And if I'm drinking beer, I usually like sour beers, which are unfortunately like always like 10% more expensive. And I'm like, that's not fair. But that's me.
Nice. So Sasha asks, sup Sasha, long-time Discord user, what do you guys think is the macro layout of the cognitive realm? As in, we know individual landscapes show up more or less the same in the cognitive realm as in the physical, but how are they all arranged? Planets are round, after all, and Shadesmar is flat, so things have to get pretty distorted. Do you think there could even be completely disconnected regions? For example, Southern Scadrial being in a way different place than Northern Scadrial. Also, while we're at it, how do you guys think the cognitive realm would realize a city planet? And he lists Coruscant from Star Wars and Trantor from Foundation. Awesome. Foundation's great.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, it would be big. Yeah.
I have opinions on this. That's
okay.
A lot of
well, here you go. Yeah. Please explain.
So in terms of like mapping like 3D space onto like, I think it's going to be like just 2-dimensional all the way across.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, simply speaking, I think that there might be like cases where like multiple places in 3D space might map to like the same point in Shadesmar. I don't know. And I guess if you're like going the other way, or like going the other way, maybe it's like a intent thing that determines like where you end up.
Sure.
In the physical. Because why not?
Sure.
And then I guess I'll add on for something like Coruscant. I think that it's going to be like it's Shadesmar, right? It's the realm of the mind. I think what matters is going to be the way people think about the world. And so I think that like whatever their like most popular standard map of the world is going to be like how they think about it, how they imagine the world, and that's going to shape how it appears in the cognitive realm. So I guess I would think that like wherever they define like the prime meridian and the equator of the world, like that's going to be the center of their map.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was imagining. I agree that I think it's going to be 2D space, just a flat plane across. I'm not going to think about how planets loop around, right? Because they do need to do that in some capacity. I think the way 3D space is going to map to 2D space is you are essentially going to conflate the 3 dimensions into 2, like a projection. Okay. And if there is a conflict, you will preserve the distance by shifting things. So like if you have, let's say a planet here and a moon up here, and they need, like, you can't collapse them on top of one another, you're going to keep the distance between the planet and the moon. And so the moon is going to be like somewhere off adjacent to the planet. And then everything else is going to get shifted a little off to the side to preserve like relative distances and stuff like that.
Although the relative distances would be contracted because of the lack of thought there. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, but like the location, like if...
Yeah, sure. It's a 2-step process, the projection process, and then the crunching, the smushing them together.
Yeah, I always liked the idea that Shadesmar itself was a globe and that you could walk around Shadesmar, because I struggle to imagine what the edge of Shadesmar would look like, or if it would just get really steep and it's like the flat earthers who are like, oh yeah, there's an ice wall around the whole world.
That would be really cool, actually, like a legit like flat universe, or like a curved universe, I guess, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
Maybe there's a bead wall.
Bead wall, the bead wall. You can't get past it.
Yep.
But I always think, and I don't necessarily think this is true, but I always love the idea that Shadesmar shifts as their ability to map gets better. And you've seen like really distorted old maps, and then as their understanding of the way the planet actually looks changes, Shadesmar would change, but I don't know if I believe it's that fluid.
Sasha,
I think there has to be a provision for some of that, because I keep going back to the swab where somebody asked what happens if, let's say, there's an island with a population somewhere, and obviously that island is going to have its like corresponding piece in the cognitive realm of that world, and the population dies and nobody else knows about this island. What happens to the cognitive, like on the cognitive side of things? And Brandon said that the rest of the cognitive realm would essentially encroach and turn. It will eat the island.
Yeah.
So the realm is definitely fluid in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I would like to see some non-Euclidean stuff in Shadesmar, but I don't think that we will, because for one, we are probably only going to see the local area, and that does seem to always be a 2D sort of representation of the planet. That too. And he has talked about how there can be points that are like on opposite sides of the planet, but you could instantly move between them in Shadesmar. Like, he has talked about that, and that is possible. And I hope, or I think that we are maybe going to see something like that at some point. But as for the macro sort of organization, I really it's weird. Like, where is the projection based on, or what is the projection based on? Because does Rosha's cognitive realm, like Shadesmar, does it look exactly like we see on the Shadesmar map? Because the Shadesmar map maps 1-to-1 to the map of Rosha that we have. That is a very specific projection of Rosha. So do all planets use that projection, or is it just the most common projection in Rosha, or what's up with that? So that's I have no answers to that. Well, it's just like convenience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha was commenting in chat about how we think that how it is outside of the Cosmere, because the Cosmere being defined as like the star cluster where the stories take place in, which I think is an interesting question, because it's like this, it gets into like how godlike is Adonalsium? Like, is Adonalsium like the god of the universe, or just like this, local small time god of this cluster? Does investiture like extend throughout the universe, or is it like this phenomenon that's restricted to? And this is like a fun theory, I guess, that was kicked around a while back, and I really like this idea that Shadesmar is finite, and that like on a macro scale, it's actually like a sphere, like it's round. And so like, if it's a finite area, like either there's like an edge that you just like fall off of, or it just sort of disintegrates or something, right? Or it could be like a sphere, some like solid, like a sphere. And so I thought it was a really amusing idea, because it's this like the opposite of like a flat earther thing. It's like a Shadesmar is actually round. Just like, it sounds really funny to me that like everybody's like, oh, Shademar's flat, but no, it's actually round. So
there's a lot.
I think there is a warp. There is a warp that talks about, where Brennan does mention that Shadesmar gets weird at the edges. So but it's WoB, so it could change. Yeah, of course. So but still, like, how would that work even then? Because if it was just flat, and then I think that it would just stop there, and it was finite and flat. Like, why would the edges be weird then? They could just end if it was fine, but I don't know.
There's a lot of interesting things you could think of for the edge of the cognitive realm that, like, Brandon could make some very cool imagery. Like, I always do kind of like, in a fantasy setting, a flat earth, just to like these infinite waterfalls at the edge. Like, it's such a cool image, right? Now you couldn't really do that in Shadesmar, because the interplanetary area would be like rocky, right? And so you wouldn't have like the beads falling off an infinite waterfall. But that would be really cool. That would be really cool. But yeah, so there's tons of interesting things. It could be as simple as, if you try and walk out of the Cosmere, the star cluster area, like, you'll be pulled back towards the Cosmere, just like you couldn't, leave your own subastral if you have enough investiture or something.
Yeah.
And also, Marvin, your point about the maps, I wonder how accurate that Shadesmar map is actually. Like, how much of that is truly accurate? Because if it's fluid, like, it's more fluid than the physical realm, really. So what does that even mean or look like? Lots of things to think about. I mean, I loved in Rhythm of War how Eurytheru looked in the cognitive realm of like, oh, that looks cool. And I think people have asked, what does the Everstorm looks like? And Brandon's like, Rapho. So there's lots of cool imagery that Brandon can use, because doesn't have to be physical. It's all just made up things that Brandon wants. Because they're cool.
To get art of that.
It would be interesting to ask, like, if there was some kind of cataclysmic, like, change to the physical realm, like a meteorite strikes, or I don't know, something really dramatic. Like, how long does it take the cognitive realm of that planet to readjust to? I imagine it's a function of, like, I don't know, the people on thought.
Yeah.
But
like, Ashen changed probably pretty quick.
Yeah, and actually, that's an interesting idea, because the Rosharan system regularly has massive cataclysms, right? And like in the Desolations, like Nohadon's like, wow, they lost 90% of people. Like, that's a lot. Like that.
Yeah.
Like if you consider the pandemic and the percentage of deaths, it's like, wow, that's a lot of death. But just think about 90% death. Like that is insane, right? So I wonder if Shadesmar would be warped there. I think Roshar's Shadesmar's probably maybe a bit more stable because of the Spren there, right? Because there are Spren cities and stuff. So maybe like the land shifts. I don't know, but I don't know how fluid that would be as to compared with like Scadrial, where there's like there's not Spren or a lot of beings over there.
You have like the example of like the fact that like they've got the rivers running across and they have to like cut channels in to make for their boats to like cut across, and like it's not like this instant thing where like the land just all of a sudden regrows. Like there's a duration there where it resists. Yeah.
Man, the cognitive realm is really cool. Like it is like I can understand why Brandon's like, no, I need a totally different fantasy realm just for weird crap. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
And we haven't even began to tackle the spiritual realm, which is like the place of platonic ideals and other things. So
if we're gonna get more spiritual realm stuff, surely like this is important for Brandon.
No, the fact that those creatures in the Arithmetist started off as spiritual realm creatures means that Brandon has at least thought about how that thing's gonna
spiritual beings.
Be like.
Yeah.
We'll get more. I don't know if we're going to understand more.
But
well, we might understand as much as Brandon does.
The power of the spiritual realm is the strongest force in the Cosmere. Cool. Greyhive asks, what do you envision a hypothetical planet/magic system related to Whimsy would look like?
Oh gosh.
Ooh.
Whimsy terrifies me every time I think.
Yeah, same.
I was thinking about that. Actually, just a few days ago, like I was thinking about questions that I can put on my list, and I was thinking about the kites, right? And how a kite magic system would look like, and are the kites magical? Are they made of a magical material? How could that possibly even work? And I don't know.
To be honest, I don't think Brandon will do this because it's not really his thing. But I can't not, when I think of like Whimsy as a shard, what kind of magic would it be? I can't not think of like Alice in Wonderland, like something that's just super trippy and like totally illogical and all over the place. Stresses me out.
Yeah,
like cute things turning horrifying.
Yeah, because it's just all on Whimsy's whims. But I always, maybe this is because this is a story thread that I want to write in my own books, but I always liked the idea of like some sort of god who's just like super capricious, who just like regularly just changes the laws of the world that they're in. Just like, now you weigh less. Why? I felt like it. Because every day will be an adventure, just because that's what the god wills. And I don't know how much a shard can actually control like universe level constants, right? Like there's probably a limit there, but Whimsy could probably just be like, I'm reforming the continents today. Now you're on an island. Bye. All your friends are somewhere else.
Gravity would be feasible. Like we have a magic system that manipulates gravity.
Yeah. So I could just imagine that every day is an adventure in Whimsy's place. And so I always liked that idea. So I would love to see it. Also, Brandon, give me an alien invasion story with where we know who the aliens are. That would also be great. You should definitely do that in Era 4. Thanks.
Eventually, Six of the Dust.
Yeah, well, but like a big war story, right? Where it's like, oh my god, the fleets are coming in, right? They're all like
Independence Day, but the aliens are.
Yeah. How awesome would that be? That'd be great.
And then the Rosharans have to go in and hack the magic system that powers the ship up there and blow it up.
We don't know where Whimsy is, Matthias. We have very limited information about the new shards. Brandon's been very cagey.
Whimsy might not even know where Whimsy is.
I mean, that's very...
So whimsical. Yeah.
A child vessel is plausible for Whimsy.
Unethical. No.
Well, I mean, they killed God. I mean, how ethical is the shattering? Like, I don't know if the ethics are the main thing that they were worried about, but maybe.
As Yasna would say, only if you accept Adenalcium as God.
Whimsy with a child vessel would be... I don't
Not great. I would rate scary. You probably don't want to give a child the power of creation to just be like, now my imagination's the world is whatever I imagine it to be. Yikes. That is not good.
Wasn't there a story that, like, not even a story, just an idea that Brandon talked about in, I want to say, the Rhythm of War, like a launch party stream thing about, was it a giant pushing a rock, or was it just a rock stumbling or rolling across the world, and like people live on that rock, and then as it rolls, they are this nomadic civilization that has to keep moving against the rotation of the rock?
Man, Brandon has some
am I on
crazy
drugs?
Ideas. That definitely sounds like a thing Brandon would talk about and just be like, that'd be a cool world idea, I guess. I'll never write it.
So that made me think of Whimsy in retrospect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. JMW19 asks, Brandon mentioned there being metallic arts fueled sports in Era 3. What kind of magical sports would it be cool to see?
It's tricky.
It has to be something with steel and iron, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be fun to have the other Allomancers kind of be useful somehow. But
metallic arts.
I mean, pewter arms can just be like, they can
Wrestlers.
They're linemen.
Yeah.
They're the linebackers, right? You know?
Yeah.
The beefy dudes.
The powers are so diverse, so it's hard to imagine like how you bring them all together into one thing.
Yeah.
Kind of imagine stuff like we see in Legend of Korra with the like bending.
Yeah.
Pro bending.
Pro bending, right? Yeah.
That's what comes to my mind first, but
it's got to be pushing or pulling some like object, like being the main point of the game. I feel
a
like,
ball.
but then there being just like stuff. Like I could imagine like leechers and microbursts being relevant and something like that. Maybe, sure.
Mm-hmm. But he said he's like laid seeds for whatever this is going to be in the previous books, right? So
I feel like that's just a vague reference to that there are sports, not like any specific thing.
I think he said that he will get some in the Lost Metal.
Yeah,
is I think what he said.
Mm-hmm. I could see in the same vein of Zane and his fancy pushing that he could do in Well of Ascension, like some kind of gymnastic style, like allomancy, cool. where you're being scored on like your grace and your ability to do a triple axle iron pull. Sure. Mm-hmm. I am curious how they will handle Metalborn in other sports that are not like if they develop skate rail football, like are they going to be leeching everybody? So like you're definitely not a pewter arm, right? Or is that if you're a pewter arm or a thug or whatever the other ferrochemical name is, are you allowed to get really big on the field? And they're like, well, he's been training. Like
that'd probably be part of the game. Although I just had an image of like a ref being a seeker just to like detect. It's like, oh man, are you hiding a medallion to do a thing or something? Right? Like there's an aspect of cheating as well, right?
Oh yeah, medallions.
Yeah.
I always figured out medallions.
Or you could like give people medallions if you're like, okay, this side of the team needs this many of each power, right? And you give a medallion to each of them, right? Like that could be a thing to sort of.
In fact, most people, like for given sports, it could be that you can't usually field an entire team. Like maybe you need 2 steel pushers and a lurcher and this and this and this and this and that. And your ability to put together a team like that is minusculely small, but your ability to equip like regular people with medallions to form that team is reasonable. And so you do that.
Ooh, voided in chat, steel running 100-meter dash. It's like, yep, that is surely a thing. Who's the fastest even with ferrochemical speed? Yeah.
But isn't it technically just a matter of who had the longest time or the most compound? Did the most compound because they can pull out all of it at once.
But like the more you tap, there is a decay. Like you don't get all of it back. It's not 1-to-1. Yeah, so
and there could be speed you store is your own speed, right? So presumably, like if you are faster, your storage is more efficient or more potent.
Oh god, yeah. Like the precision of the metal mines, because you presumably, if the metal mine is, the exact super correct proportion, then that is the most efficient for storing it, right?
You could do like a long distance run where you start with an empty steel mine, and in the same way that you have to kind of control your pace in an actual run, you control how much you're storing and if you're going to use a burst of speed to, do a sprint in this region. But I don't think that works so well, 100-meter dash.
Or maybe they could give just unkeyed metal mines that just like, this has this much steel stuff. So like it's all normalized. Have fun with that,
See what you can do.
Yeah. Another idea I just came up with that is more on the, I guess, illegal side of sports that might happen is writer and soother cockfights or something like that, where like they have to make the animals assume they can use emotional elements on them, somehow make them like fight more efficiently or whatever, or like have them not feel the pain, something like that maybe.
Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah.
You'd want to have your aluminum bands and your Skadrian football helmet, so you're not like having someone depress the team and you're like, man, we're just falling apart, we can't do this.
Yep. Nice. Lotus asks,
I gotta run.
Okay, see you later. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
We'll still be here. Lotus asks, what is the most hilarious staff/admin story that has happened that you can tell us about? Ooh,
we're also funny. Huh.
That is an important disclaimer there at the end.
Yeah,
or addendum.
That's true. Most hilarious. This would be useful if I remembered things.
I don't know if we get many hilarious things in staff.
I mean,
it's more drama.
Yeah. Although I must say, on the last drunk stream where Gray spilled a drink on her keyboard, it was very sad because she had to actually replace the entire laptop. Like, that's obviously not great, but it's also kind of funny.
You mean?
Yeah, Gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say Grace? Oh, yeah, I meant Gray.
Yeah. Maybe you had Gray hair spilled on Grace.
Maybe. Yeah. So.
Yeah, we're not often like responding to humorous things, although we often are funny while it's happening, and we're like cracking jokes in staff chat, which are often hilarious. But I don't know, usually it's like, okay, who's around?
I'm
trying to think of if we had any funny reports or whatever of like people join that.
I mean, the spam bots are always pretty funny. Those are classic.
I could have killed many people by now with the voodoo.
The voodoo love magic?
Love magic,
Vashikarian, I'll be sure to put that in the tags so the spam bots come to the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Boost that engagement.
We occasionally get people who very earnestly and like no fault of their own aren't used to spam bots, and they're like, "Is anybody seeing like someone is posting about black magic?" And they'll like report it, and we're like, "We got it. Just hit, just
yeah.
We've got it. Don't worry about it." Yeah.
But most hilarious, man. I probably should have thought about this question a little more because I can't think of a dang thing.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of these until they pop out right now, so I've got nothing in the bank.
I mean, one thing that that always comes to mind for me. Remember SpoCon, David, 2013? Brandon was there, and I just tried to ask Brandon. I'm trying to get how many shards were on Roshar, because there was a theory that maybe there was a fourth one. And Brandon just says, well, technically, every shard invested on Roshar. I'm like, thanks, Brandon. You're the best.
We were trying to record an early version of Shardcast, not Shardcast as everyone knows it at that con. Because we were getting big info. Like we had just learned about Braze and Ashen, and we were like ready to go. And Eric and I were in the same hotel room, and we could not talk without picking up the other's mic, and we were trying to figure it out. We're like, can someone get in the wardrobe? Like, can you go in the bathroom?
Yeah. Well, I still think on some account somewhere, I don't know what account we were on, but I still think there's a Hangouts on Air. Remember that? I remember that. It was a long time ago that we did, but it's not on the 17 Shard YouTube channel that we have right now.
Well, there was an interruption. We had like an internet failure, so we didn't. We've got like a third of a podcast somewhere.
Yeah. It didn't work.
Yeah, that's
why you never.
It didn't work.
Yeah. Man, us recording things live, I'd have to like get totally new equipment for that. Anyway, Lotus, this is a very disappointing to your answer. Sorry, I can't think of
the most fun you usually have is with the name of the channel.
That's true.
We regularly have fun with that.
That is true.
What's our current name?
We probably shouldn't say it out.
Yeah, that one.
That one we should not. That one we should definitely not say.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
She asks, how many spam bots do we usually get?
Like 1 or 2 a day, really.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it used to be a lot more. And yeah.
There's a problem. There was like a 20 a day, 25 a day period, and then we changed something and it got better. But for a while,
we did the Mestiff spam wall that prevented you from posting any link. But the slight problem with that is that you could not quote anyone ever because that was the link. So there were some issues with that. And people were like, why can't I post an image that I attached? I was like, okay, yeah, maybe this hacky thing's not good. So I think that's currently off.
It worked for a while.
Yeah. Lyriel asks, what is stopping you from releasing material more often? Ooh, boy. Is it the time you'd spend on recording or editing or something else? What's the bottleneck? I, for one, would like to see videos from you more often, and the larger the Cosmere gets, the more material you have for discussion. Also, what do you envision for the future of 17 Shard? What do you want to be in a year or 5 years or more?
A media empire.
A conglomerate.
I would say the main issue is time. That's the bottleneck. We all go to school or have full-time jobs, so there's a reason why we have lots of different cast members. So it's like, hey guys, we got to do a podcast. It's like you can't. Some people can't get there. Like, all right, let's bring some other people in. Let's go. We got stuff to do. It's really hard. Like, I can't believe we did basically over a year of weekly podcasts. That is insane. Granted, they were not as long as we have them now. Like, usually they were under 2 hours. Now we're like, 2.5 hours. That's fine.
It's a quickie.
Yeah. It's not 3 hours. This is a short one. But it's really time. Like, we do want to have some lives. But I do intend to get cameras for some other people to do some solo videos. So I'd like to have some more solo videos in the mix, but as you can see, I have not done any of the solo videos that I said I might maybe make. I made the 10 crazy things in Rhythm of War, and I haven't done one since. So time's rough.
Which still shows up in my homepage, or like on my YouTube homepage.
It's a popular video. It's a popular video.
Yeah, the solo videos are a lot more self-driven. So like a lot of the stuff that you see that Ben does, it's like Ben has an idea and gets on it, you know? And so ideas are also a precious resource. Editors are also a precious resource, you know?
It's really time consuming. Like to edit a podcast, you not only do you need to spend the time recording and planning, sometimes we plan more than others. Usually with me, it's like, all right, it's Friday night, we're recording Saturday. Guess I gotta make a crappy outline. That's usually what I do. But sometimes other people do it and they're much nicer. But like, you have to plan, you have to record, then you have to edit, and that's like at least double the amount of the raw file. At least double to triple. Then you have to wait for it to upload and process and do all the other things, and like, there's quite a lot to do. It is not surprising that people who are YouTubers putting out like daily videos are super busy because, geez, that is a lot to do.
Although people who do that on a daily basis either put out like 10-15 minute videos.
Oh yeah, for sure.
or do like gameplay videos. So like minimal editing.
Yeah, true. But like for solo videos for us, like scripting takes a long time. Like the nice thing with Shardcast is that we don't really need that. And we just get the witty banter usually maybe as we go, and we don't need to script out an entire thing. And scripting can be really hard, and also reading from a script is actually really hard to make that fun and engaging. So it's not like, hello, I am here, I am reading this. Like for example, my Rhythm of War review, I had to record it a second time because the first time this microphone wasn't the correct distance from my face and it was too soft and I did not like the sound. But the first time I was reading from the script, like it was just bad. And the second time it was way better. I was more energetic and things. And so it's really hard actually. Look, we'd love more content as well, but time is a very precious resource. And also like for me, I want to play video games sometime and do some non-shard stuff, you know, like.
And I think we could like in theory, there's lots of stuff to talk about. We're like, oh, we're not talking about the Oathpact till 2022, you know, like, but we do have to make these books last. And I think if we were going super weekly, we would kind of. There have been times where we're like, oh man, like Kurthcast, a great cast, but like we were. That's what scraping the bottom of the barrel looks like.
No. That's Cremcast, David. Come on.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
But whenever we do a podcast all about Creme, that means that's the bottom of the barrel.
But like late 2022, we don't want to have zero ideas left. So
I mean, I think the problem with Oathbringer to Rhythm of War was so long between a Cosmere release, and
there was nothing in that gap.
We did over a year of weekly shows, so we hit a lot of the big topics. Whereas here for Rhythm of War, because we did a much shorter weekly time period, which I think was good to do that weekly time period, but we still have like a lot of topics like Yasna Hoid, Navani Raboniel, Adolin and Maya, Gavilar's Black Spheres. These are like, you don't have to dive very deep to get the big topics. Stone shaping, yeah, that's not going to be
not out. You know, we haven't got Kaladin out even though it's recorded. You know,
yeah. I mean, I did intend Kaladin to come out sooner, but then Brandon just kept talking, and there were lots of words of Brandon, and that,
Oh yeah.
So
I do want to tackle the second half of the question.
Oh yeah, for the vision.
Where do we see ourselves in however many years?
That's a good question. I envision that we will have a side update within 5 years. Long delayed. Maybe. We'll get there. It'll be a decade since the last one. Nothing's wrong there.
I think there are. So in terms of just production quality, I think we wanna be a little higher up there.
Just wait until I buy acoustic foam for all of you.
I will not put up acoustic foam in my home.
I will glue the foam to my blinds here.
Perfect.
I think one of my top, not priorities, but like things that I want to have on this channel is more series, right? So we have our 2.5 hour kind of podcast that is every 2 weeks. We need shorter, more casual content.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's kind of the goal with the solo videos, right? To not have a 2 hour long thing and have like a 15-20 minute video. That's much more digestible.
Yeah. And not only more digestible, but more approachable to like just people who like have read Mistborn, for example, and they're like, I want to go on YouTube and find people who are as passionate about Mistborn as I am, and I want to hear them talk about that.
Yep.
Or alternatively, I just read Mistborn and there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. I want to go and find like maybe a playlist of 3, 4, 15-minute videos that tell me all of the things that I have missed in this book.
Yep.
Or whatever. So that is a direction I think we need to go at some point in some capacity. We don't have specific plans other than that's something we would like to do.
Well, there is one specific plan. You'll see in 2022, but there is one. There is a thing. So you'll have a lot of good content in 2022.
There is content coming.
There is. Oh yeah.
By diversifying the length and the target audience of our videos is one thing. I personally would like to find a way to like promote artists, fan artists in a greater capacity. So one thing that I haven't done yet, and I don't have specific plans to do in the near future, is like I want to either replace or complement the informal show and tell that I do at the beginning of episodes with like, hey, here's a cool artist or here's a cool piece of art that you can check out.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that lifts off.
And we've always known that we need to do solo videos that are more digestible, like our intro to the Cosmere things. Hey, maybe we'll do it one of these decades. That's a script that's really rough to write, let me tell you, to introduce the Cosmere to people. But like things like that, where like, ooh, what's a savant? What's that word mean? Like you could just do a 10-minute video on like, what does a word mean and examples of it, right? And Cosmere connections and things like that. Like that. Those are all great video ideas. So I really want, we want to do those. But you know, time's rough. Time is always a very, very precious commodity. And I think that's really the main thing, right? There's always things that we want to do, like Shardcast since 2012. So, and it took about 5 years for that to get going solidly.
More minor ideas. I know that we've always joked about doing like, I don't know, there'd probably be a lower interest in this / maybe it's like a Patreon bonus, but like, you know, we've talked about doing a Cradle cast, or we could talk about the new like we talked about Avengers Endgame for long enough that it could have been a podcast.
We really could have,
you know, so there
or Dresden Battleground,
or just talking about we get a decent number of questions about books that we like or other authors that we think are like Brandon, that we could be like, oh, here's something, here's some cool stuff we read in 2020.
Yeah, it is always tough because our audience is specific, so it's like broadening that will have resistance, but if people,
it wouldn't be a main thing.
It needs to be a bonus in addition to our regular content, right? So that's kind of the tricky thing.
And the super hard thing that we've always wanted to do, but would require like a lot more effort, is I would love for there to be someday be some merch, but I also don't want to run a web store. So I'm like, that's the balance there.
There's been no issues with web stores in the last week.
And also taxes and all that sort of fun stuff, but
presumably we wouldn't run a web store. Like we would go to Redbubble or
some company
or Teespring or something like that.
I don't want to take people's personal data or information. Someone else can have that. Someone who's not me.
But even like doing Redbubble, like it would take, like we would have to like go through some plans and, you know, like see if it was of a quality that we liked, you know, like there is complexity to it, but I think that would be fun to have at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will just say, like, the last year, I think we've been really successful at our content. I thought the Rhythm of War release went really pretty well. I thought, like, on the forum side of things, we, you know, having the 3 different subboards really helped rather than it having all be intermingled. The Discord's really gone well. The Patreon, like, guys, you guys are awesome. Like, over $900 a month. That is insane. That is objectively crazy. It's still, like, note, that is a lot of money, no doubt. But if you just imagine paying us minimum wage for doing Shardcast, I still don't think it's even enough for that personnel. So it's not like we're living it up here. Like it's a very much a passion project that we're not like, oh yeah, this can be our job. Like maybe it could be one person's job eventually, but not for everyone else spending their time on the show, right?
Yeah.
That's just not possible.
One other thing I want to add on is the community aspect. And we have gotten better at this in recent years, but we're not where I think we would like to be. So historically, the 17th Shard has always been kind of a theory-focused, hardcore fan type of thing. And to an extent, we're always going to be a place for hardcore fans. I think we would like to change the definition of what hardcore means in this context. So, and to an extent, the word is not a good word for this. It's I think, would like the 17th Shard to be a place and a community for people who are in whatever capacity heavily invested in the Cosmere, in Brandon Sanderson, in even non-Cosmere things like Skyward and the Reckoners. And so we have moved away from being, hey, if this is a place where theories live and nothing else, to a place where you can have all sorts of diverse, an outlet for all sorts of diverse interests related to Brandon and his works.
And I'm sorry, if you've read all of Brandon's works, you're kind of a hardcore fan. Like, maybe you're not in it with the wobs, but I would like, it's always a constant battle. It's like, you should really be respectful to new people if they don't know the wobs. Like, they don't need to know that. Like, and be nice and respectful about that, because if you've read 20 books or something, I don't, like, there's a lot of Cosmere books, right? You're pretty invested, and I think that still makes you a reasonably hardcore fan, right? And if you're like looking at the Coppermind at all, like if you're Googling about a book you read, you're already in a minority of people, right? Like, I mean, the internet is having more people connect with media than ever before, but it's still a minority.
If you feel bad about being spoiled by the Google snippet, you're definitely more hardcore than the average.
Well, the Google
because
snippet,
you did Google it, and and you care enough to,
and that Google snippet issue, that's rough. But
the example I always go back to is my relationship with the MCU, in that I love MCU movies. Like, I have seen all of them, and I enjoy them, and I watch the shows, and I've seen the movies, and I consume some measure of YouTube content. Like, I follow, I think, 2 channels that sometimes talk about the MCU, and they do like Easter egg hunts and deep dive analyses, but I don't consume that content anywhere near as much as I do Cosmere content. Like, I will watch 3 15-minute videos a week or something like that, and that's the extent of my engagement. So, like, I'm not going to join a Discord server or a website or a forum,
Reddit,
dedicated to these things. But I like some additional information on the side beyond just the direct media that I consume.
Yeah.
I always thought the way for us to stay relevant, like, internet forums are going to be less relevant over time. Blogs, not really relevant. Let's be honest. People don't really read blogs. I mean, I do think there is space for it. Like, I do go to news websites and things, like news about Brandon stuff that is a niche. But the real way for us to, have a following is through content. That's why we've pushed to make content, because we got to have solo videos, so people are like, I just want to consume some stuff, and maybe that gets them more into the fandom. And I know a bunch of people have joined the forum and Discords through watching our content, which is really great. So I think if we didn't do that, we would fade into irrelevancy, honestly, because Facebook and Reddit are so easy to join. Like, joining a dedicated site or something is more, I don't know.
We need to beef up our socials, right? Like Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, because it's a lot easier for people to like follow a Twitter account than
not TikTok.
To join a community.
We'll get into TikTok.
You are in charge of
TikTok.
the 17 shard TikTok, Paleo. That's all you do.
Honestly, you should just do the animation of you going out of the box, and that'll be the only thing on our Instagram page, on our TikTok. Like put some music behind there, and that'd actually be really good. you should definitely do that.
I will take over this for a moment.
Okay.
I know we trash on TikTok a lot, and I think it's funny, and we did the same thing for Vine before, which is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, I sometimes when I'm bored and I'm laying on the couch and I just want to scroll through things, I go to Instagram's Discover feed, and that features a lot of screenshots from Tumblr conversations and also like TikTok videos. And there are some genuinely talented content creators on TikTok.
Oh no, I absolutely realize that, and also I'm not exactly mocking the idea of Paleo rising from a box. Like, I genuinely think that's hilarious and would be a great TikTok. But yeah, there is a lot of good stuff. Apparently the algorithm for TikTok is really good. Like, it'll really train to see what you really want. Like, apparently it's really good. So I've heard.
Interesting.
But get off my lawn, young kids. Like, I don't want those any, like, TikTok. But apparently it's really mature.
Forums around these parts.
Yeah. Ooh, internet forums.
Late 90s. Here we go.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. Here we go. Join 17 Shard. Yeah.
Come talk to us on our IRC channel.
Oh, boy. Ooh.
That IRC was active.
Yeah. Mostly when we were there.
Yeah.
I still like mocking you, David, with teasing you with things. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go to a different question.
Let's go to a different question. Yeah. Erica Johnson asks, what are your predictions for the Lost Metal? And 2, do you think Allomancers / Fair Chemists from Scadrial can use metals originating from Roshar? The second one is a confirmed yes. You can use the metals anywhere. From anywhere. It's nothing special to the Scadrial metals.
It's about the type of metal, not like the origin. No.
As for predictions for the Lost Metal, that is a podcast we're recording next week that you will also not see until 2022. But we got all our Era 2 stuff almost done. But
let's just leave that one to the podcast.
Yeah. That obviously there's a Lost Metal predictions thing. We're always going to have that episode, and it's always tricky when we should air those episodes, because usually we have to record those early. And like, how close should it be to the book's release? I don't know. It's tricky.
We have about a week to record that episode.
We do. I mean, it's scheduled for the 25th, if I recall correctly. So that's next week's problem.
Wait, one quick prediction. Wayne will continue to be annoying. Anyway,
that doesn't.
I'll do a quick prediction. Each story is kind of a slightly different genre. It's genre feel. I don't think this will be true, but I think it would be cool if there was a Scadrial War story. That'd be a fun backdrop.
It's too short.
I know.
It's been going on for a whole year. It's too short.
I know. But it would be cool. You got it.
It would be cool. Yeah, for sure.
Dalnar's Croissant asked about asking Brandon one question. So we did that. Roland B. I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't want to butcher it. Which Cosmere character's line of thinking is most like yours, the panelist, and which the least? This means you can disregard comparisons of age, race, gender, physical features, etc.
Yasna.
Okay. Next question. No, just kidding.
Like, line of thinking about what? Like, way of thinking? Like how they approach the world?
Yeah, like philosophy. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Yeah. Part of me wants to say like Elend in a way, but I don't know. He's very idealistic, and I'm much more pessimist and realist. So I don't know. But he did turn into that, so maybe. That's tricky.
Yeah, I would say Elend Paladin fusion for me, depending on what region we're getting into.
Can we get one of those things where it merges two photos and one's a thing of a drawing of Elend and one's a Kaladin, and just get that merged? I want to know what horrifying amalgamation that would look like.
Mm-hmm. I liked Raiden's optimism, though. That was always a good part to Raiden.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Kaladin's depression with Rhythm of War really spoke to me. That really matched me in that book. Didn't really in book 1 through 3 though. So like different aspects. It's cool because you can see like different aspects of yourself in different characters in like some respect, but it like as a whole, a character is like, okay, I'm not that character. I don't think that way, but I can see things in them of me sometimes. Cool. And all right, so and then which of the planets in the Cosmere that do not have a main series are you most looking forward to having more stories on? And why is it Threnody, David? I added that last part, but
yeah, no, I was like, man, that's specific. I don't think I knew I was going to be on this, but hey, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Desperate Gate, like, I do really want to know what's going on in Threnody.
I know. The sad part about Desperate Gate is I like where he's going with it, but he's like, I was going to do one where the evil first happened. I'm like, well, also do that one. You can do that one too.
Yeah.
You can do both, Brandon.
Yeah, we need some Brandon clones.
Just get a co-author.
Yeah, yeah.
If these co-authored projects turn out well, I'm behind it.
Like an Isaac Brandon co-author thing, like that, that could be really good.
Yeah, Isaac is already like a Threnody person, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Isn't he Nas?
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah,
I mean, but he has barely touched any like Nas. Stories
but he likes it.
That we know about. There's a whole behind the scenes world that exists.
He's done a lot more on Taldane than he's done on Threnody.
But no one cares about Taldane.
I care about Taldane. That was going to be my answer.
I mean, like a more modern Taldane story would be really, Dark Side would be very interesting, and like Taldane in a more modern Cosmere sense, because White Sand's pretty early in the timeline would be cool.
I'd actually say Ashen both before and after the cataclysm. Yeah,
those are good choices.
You know, this is not going to be my answer in any capacity, but I do wonder what Braze was like throughout history. Like, was it always this barren wasteland populated by odium splinters? Or was there ever a civilization there? Was there anything more interesting to it?
Those are all going to be things answered in the back half. I am certain of this. Like, we will see Ashen flashbacks and things. But yeah, that's interesting. I think I'd got to go with Threnody as well. I love that setting. Although, like, some more Cell stuff would be cool. Like, I want to see that third domain, right, and see how that interplays with stuff. So I'm kind of excited for some more Cell stuff. But Threnody is probably like there's more like mystery there. Like, there's so much mystery still on Threnody that I need to know. You know,
the downside with Cell is that since Book 1 and Book 2 are both set on Opelin, there's going to be a third realm we don't get to see a ton of, you know, unless the last sequel spends a lot of time on both somehow.
Yeah.
Or it's some weird, you know, Era 4 they're hanging out on Cell for some reason.
Yeah.
But
cool. Matteo Filetti asks, Obradai? ?
Aha! An Aether planet, yeah. Yep. So. Oh, okay. Well. Thanks for that, Roland. Thanks for the voice of support there. So I appreciate it. Message me sometime to tell me how it's actually pronounced, because I do want to get these right. And then, lastly, to our initial questions, we'll see how much more we want to do. But Voted asks, so how did the 17 Shard get to where it is today? I've heard some snippets here and there, like in a recent stream. Brandon said it kind of got started because 2 of his students got engaged in his class. There was a story he was telling to explain why Argent wasn't his favorite 17 Sharder. But I've never heard the full story. I'll field this one. So this was 2009, 2010. I was friends with Michelle. You haven't seen her much on Shardcast. You saw her on the Cosmere pronunciations, but you'll see some of her sometime soon-ish, next year. But yeah, so Mish took Brandon's class, and she met Josh, not the Josh that was on this, but Rubik's Josh, who you don't see. Mostly because he's corrupted with knowledge. But
he was on the
Endowment
episode.
Cosmere
episode was Endowment.
Yeah, he's the one who guessed Hoid and Drag on a horse. So you might recall that. But so they met through Brandon's class. You might know in Alloy of Law that there is a wedding that is crashed, and that is Lord Joshin and Michelle's wedding. So that is Brandon's wedding gift for them. And he actually went to their wedding. But before that, we were talking, and us three, and there was another, but he eventually dropped out. We were like, Time Waster's Guide. We gotta have something a little more concrete, and so we made 17 Shard. And Mish asked Brandon if there was like a group of world hoppers that we could name it after, and he gave us the name 17 Shard before Way of Kings even came out. So that's the origin, and we've just kind of been chugging on since with our forum. I'm still pleased that you can still read 2010 forum topics, and I love preserving data like that. It's fun. So lots happened, right? The Coppermind has gotten really good. We made Arcanum. Like that's some crazy stuff that we've made that not many fandoms have made. So we're very lucky. And so anyway, that's the short story. You can go to our about page on 17 Shard. It's in the drop down menu on the right, which really probably needs to be more obvious because that's really not very obvious.
I'm sure we'll get to the update website.
Yeah, sometime
soon.
Soon, yes, soon.
TM.
Yeah, TM. There are some good design ideas now, so I'm actually very excited about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna start picking random duplicate questions from people as I'm scrolling through here, and we'll definitely get to some of Miss Mage's, but he's still got like 7 of these. And so I'm gonna start with Sasha. What are your wildest speculations for Void Binding actually is? All right, let's go.
Wildest?
I don't do wild.
Or at least just any speculation, really. How about we'll just change that a little slightly.
All Void Binding speculation is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still think that perhaps the original Void Binding was more just about interacting with Spren that you weren't bonded to, and you were getting Spren to do stuff for you. Maybe even the Odium Spren that we see, like Ullum in them, and they were doing some sort of... Because the parallels between Spren and Surges just says to me, I'm like, okay, Void Binding had something to do with Spren, even though they weren't bonded, when we look at that Elia Steli. And who are the Spren that were around back then that could have been doing it? Probably not the Nahel Spren on Rashar, but maybe the Spren that look like ancient humans from the ancient human planet.
So you're saying that those human Voidbringers probably Void binded?
Yes, and I don't know if they were bonded to those Spren, but I could see them like convincing or interacting with those Spren, convincing them to do stuff for them. I think that they could potentially have made more use of the magic. But that's about as wild a speculation as I'll go for. That's me going like, this could be true.
Yeah.
But
I am sticking with my theory from pre-Rhythm of War, like Oldbringer times. Void binding is binding with the Void, binding with Odium. So you form a connection with Odium himself, and he gives you powers.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think the human Voidbringers in that first Desolation used Void Binding in some form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what I've always gone with. I don't know how that is. I don't know how any of that works. No one knows how that works other than Brandon and his team. So.
The Brandon maybe if he's world built it.
I look. I do sometimes get worried that the pieces are not going to fit together, but Brandon hasn't let us down yet, so I want the answer to make sense. I want the stuff with the Heralds and the Desolation. I want a complete picture and be like, yes, that makes sense. But usually Brandon's explanations are eventually good. It's just with Roshar, there's so much unknown stuff that it's we don't have the full picture.
He's juggling a lot of balls.
Yep. Next question. Mistmage asks, Team Roshar or Team Scadrial in the Interplanetary War? Everyone has to pick a side. I will confess I'm Team Scadrian. The Mistborn series has a special place in my heart. But Rust's, it's a difficult choice. Indeed it is.
Team Roshar.
Team Roshar. Questions. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially how they, well, I don't want to get into. I don't know if we
probably don't want to do 6 of the Dust 2 spoilers, but I'll be contrarian. I'll be Team Scadrial. That sounds fun.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
Yeah. I mean, I love Roshar. I do think I like Stormlight better than Mistborn, quite a significant more degree. But I'll be Team Scadrial. I'll be contrarian from this Rosharan propaganda here. How dare you?
I think for me the big distinction between them is the thing is Scadrial leans more on the tech side of Magitech, and Roshar leans more on the magic side of Magitech. I like the high magic.
It is really cool.
of Roshar. Really cool. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I read epic fantasy and not sci-fi. So that's what I want.
Yep. What other duplicates? Lariel asks if you could meet a character from the Cosmere. Who would it be? And what would you like to ask them / do with them? Let's set the rule that whoever you choose is at the latest point that we know of them. And if they're dead, it's the point of their life just before their death character-wise, with the exception of Cognitive Shadows, Winky Face. But it isn't that situation where they die, and they have no reason to be more honest with you than they are with anyone else. They are just who they are as a character. Interesting.
I'm going to say Chris and probably visit a lecture somewhere on Silverlight with her.
Oh yeah.
Either that she gives the lecture or you hear somebody.
Please give us lore. Let's write it down. Tell us about that Nalthis essay, Chris. What do you know? Was it created? Was it created by endowment? We must know.
I'd probably go with Sazed. I think that would be a good one as Harmony. Yeah. I'd have my own David and Sazed chat like Wax got. I think that'd be fun.
That would be pretty cool. Anytime you can speak with a shard directly, it's like, ooh, tell me things.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards Sazed as well. I mean, obviously, I am who I am, and so it is partially expected of me to say Yasna, but I don't think that would be particularly beneficial to me given the stipulations in the question.
I don't know if Yasna would like you in particular, but
he might be busy. She'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm running a country that's collapsing.
Yeah, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And you say, I'm from another planet, and then maybe she'll be interested.
Yeah, I guess I do have that going for me, right?
Yeah, we're all world hoppers if we're going to the Cosmere.
True. Chloe won't tell her anything. You could tell her a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I can tell her about Shadesmar and things.
Let me tell you about Dawn Shards. So there's intent and command, and I have some theories on how that might work.
You need to
find know much more about them.
Yeah,
but you do know more right now.
That's true. Yeah.
Who would I choose? I guess I'll go Bottom Mishram. Bottom Mishram can do whatever she wants with me.
Is that just pre-binding, or I wonder where
pre-binding,
you would fall
pre-binding,
on that?
pre-binding. I think I'll specify.
No, it's at the current. As the question specified at the current.
Yeah, it can be a false desolation time. That's fine. That's fine.
But we don't know it. We haven't gotten no updates since then. So that's the most current we have.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, true.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
I think Hoid might be a viable answer here for me.
He wouldn't give you anything. He would just be like,
I think he will be intrigued by my origin from beyond the Cosmere.
Dawn Shards. Did you just whisper that in his ear? It's like, what? Tell us more. Do you want some Soulcast bacon? Cool.
Feed him an Impossible Burger.
You're gonna love this.
JMW19 asks, who would win in a fight, 1 feather or 6 Dalishes? That is unfortunate that she is not here, but on the episode we recorded yesterday, you'll see her soon. Basically, I'm the only one who did both things this weekend. Support us on Patreon, and you can watch the Shardcast episode before October 9th. Subscribe below.
I don't know if she would fight a Dalish. I don't know if she could bring herself to that, let alone 6 Dalishes.
It's true. Yeah,
I think the Dalishes would win.
Yeah. Loda says, would you be a hemalurgic donor? And on a related note, would you give your bones to a Kandra? Presumably hemalurgic donor means you have some magical ability, but you're about to die. And so, like, would you get it spiked out of you before your
Yes,
death
on
or
both
something?
counts from me. I mean,
Definitely yes on the bones. The hemalurgy thing would depend on how much I trust the medical system not to murder me.
It's true. It's fair.
I think that no on the bones, because go find a different skeleton. I don't want you walking around looking like me. You don't need my bones. Probably no on the donor. If they could, like, if I was going and they could, like, all right, you're not gonna feel a thing, like this is just gonna be like lights out, maybe. But probably I would, if I had a gold related ability and that could actually help other people and do some sort of like healing, then sure. But if I'm like a copper cloud, I don't give it. Nope, sorry. See you later. You don't need, that's not doing any good to you, or I guess to, I don't think that's a net enough positive that I'm like, oh yeah, kill me for this.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, how do you know that someone will definitely die? Like, at least with organ donors, like, there is a amount of time after, and that makes it tricky, right?
And even then, I think there are some questions with, like, long-term coma and brain deadness, brain death.
Well, what should we do now? We've made lots of good progress. So I hope you had fun. But what? Miss Mage, what's everyone's favorite Cosmere short story? Mine's Emperor's Soul. I tear up every time Gautona goes to see Ashravan after Shai stamps him. Emperor's Soul's great, no doubt.
It's a good answer. Yeah, it's a novella, not a short story, but yeah.
Let's say shorter than novel. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Elomancer check one, but only for the commentary from his steward.
I still have not read that.
Well, I'm stuck between the Hope of Elantris and the 11th Metal. No.
No sarcasm in your voice there.
No, I mean, obviously, Shadows for Silence. Like, that's a boring answer, but that's true. Yeah.
I think I gotta go with Emperor's Soul. I love that story. Like,
I think Emperor's Soul was good.
It has the thinky. It has some action. Great ending. Like, just fantastic.
Unless we count Dawn Shard.
Oh well, Dawn Shard is good. Yeah, but
it's so connected with main Stormlight that it's really hard for me to like separate that. Like, I do love Secret History for just the crazy lore that we got at the time. Like,
I forget.
You can't beat that, right? Of just like seeing Kelsier right there, and he's burning the 11th metal, about to die from the Lord Ruler, because like you get a scene break in Mistborn 1. You don't see that part. Like, what? Oh, it's so good. It's what a crazy thing.
I think I would revise, actually. Like, I love Threnody, but I think the story of Mistborn Secret History is stronger, and I would prefer to read that again.
I think the intent of the question is, no, you can't pick Edge Dancer, Dawn Shard, Secret History. Like,
what? If you can pick Emperor's Soul, then you can pick other novellas, I think.
Yeah. I think if it's in Arcanum Unbounded or would be in an Arcanum Unbounded type collection in the future,
Agreed.
It is in the scope of this question.
Agreed. Hope of Elantris. No. I mean, Hope of Elantris is fine. It's just nothing special.
It's cute, but
it's solidly fine. Like, we're not saying
you guys
it's
don't like House of Ashes.
That is not a legitimate component.
It's not canonical.
I was just talking about this with Punny. No.
Yep. Good. Dalnar's Croissant asked another question because we skipped the other one because that was already asked. If you could give a massive lore dump to a Stormlight Archive character to help them out in their character arc / plot, which character would you choose? God. That's a good question. I like that one.
Shallan. I think she needs it the most right now. Like, Shallan's got some important stuff to be doing.
Let me tell you about what I know about Biden.
Not much.
Not my lore dump, but a lore dump. Not what I know, but maybe what Brandon knows. That'd be important.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Ooh.
I think Shallan would be the most that I could actually provide some input on. Like, we don't know Bondsmith stuff that we could help Danana with, really.
Yeah.
Well, we could tell anyone that Terra Engine is Odium now. Like, that's something pretty good to tell.
Hey, yo, Terra Engine's Odium. Also, there's anti-investiture, so, maybe warn all those otters, friend. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
There's something you should know about.
I guess telling Hoid about the events of the end of Rhythm of
That'd
War
probably
might
be useful.
Information.
Yeah.
Also, he's got Shallan on speed dial, so that can also pass a message.
Yep. On your cell phone. Yeah, I think those are all good options. How likely, Voted asks, how likely do you think it is that Space Age will be Era 5 by the time we get to it? Every time Brandon brings up Cyberpunk Mistborn and has 16 total books, he sounds more and more certain about doing it.
I don't think it's unlikely. It's like the way he talks about it, it's... Yeah, I don't know when he wants to find the time for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did it.
I have a feeling he's going to try to squeeze at least a story out of it.
Yeah.
It might not turn into a trilogy or quadrilogy the same way that Era 2 did.
Oh, see, I was going to make the joke. It's like, it might not turn into a trilogy. It'll turn into 4 books. But you beat me before I could even get that joke in there.
Sorry. We can do it again and we'll fix it in post.
Yeah, yes, in post, yes. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, I don't care about the genre of cyberpunk. So, I hope not. No, but honestly, if it's not co-authored or if it's not a set of novellas at the most, I do not believe there is enough time. Yeah, I don't think that we can, especially when Brandon flirts with adding more to potentially White Sand or adding more. He's always talking about Aether books, and I'm like, when are the Aether books happening, Brandon?
And we don't even know when Nightblood Brigade, I want Nightblood, right?
Yeah, there's no sequels. Yeah. If it's co-authored and they're good, great. But I don't think there's enough time for Brandon to write 3 more full Mistborn novels in the plan as it stands.
I would trade Cyberpunk Mistborn for fleshing out some other world.
Oh yeah,
literally anything. Anything that I said I would have over Cyberpunk Mistborn.
Yeah, like I really like Mistborn, and going back to Mistborn's great, but there are a lot of other shards and I would really like to see them fleshed out, and I am worried that some of these new shards, right, that we're really not going to see enough to do them justice. So I am a little worried about that, personally.
The one thing I'll say is good for a Cyberpunk Mistborn series is that I think it will help Brandon bridge the technological and cultural gap between Era 3 and Era 4.
Yeah, I was actually about to bring that up. Like, it's going to be a large jump.
Better.
Yeah.
But, okay, at what cost? In that we will have to, again, call Era 4, Era 5 now, and it will have been referred to as
It'll be Era 3.5.
If we do Era 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, I will hate that.
I mean,
I will hate that a lot.
Lotus. This is a funny story from the staff that we can talk about. Is Brandon initially, like, when Era 2 was coming out, I think he did we call it Era 2 or did he
called it Era 2 and then tried to backtrack.
Yeah, and then he wanted to call it Era 1.5, and we'd already used that language on the Coppermind, and so I know at least me and Ian strenuously didn't like it being changed to Era 1.5. Because I still think in his brain, the big trilogies are like the Era 1, the modern day, the sci-fi. Like, I still think those are like the main ones. And so I remember strenuously pushing back that Era 1.5 was a stupid name, and you already called it Era 2, so please don't change it.
I would love some in-world references. He can call it Era 3.5 if he will give me, like, oh, this is the classical Scadrial series, this is the mod, like, if we can do that. But the Coppermind part of me,
early, middle, late era.
Oh, that's nonsense. No one knows what that means.
Yeah, Brandon doesn't even know what that means on Cell.
The one wob is wrong.
Yeah. Are you guys excited for calling the back half Stormlight Era 2?
Oh my gosh.
Brandon's been saying that one.
I think he said it once.
No, I think he said it more than once at this point.
I will fight him on it. Don't worry about it.
Oh boy.
Look out for that at Minicon 3. Arjun and Brandon throwdown.
Yep. Miss Mage, what do you think Cultivation and Odium's combined tone will be called? Judging by the descriptions in Rhythm of War, my guess is the Rhythm of Infestation. Boundless growth with malevolent intent, I think sums it up pretty well. And wouldn't it be cool that the first time the Rhythm of Infestation was heard was when humans left Shinovar and infested the rest of Roshar as a giant invading swarm? That is some great fanfic that like I dig that. That sounds amazing. I don't know if that's true at all, but that sounds great.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I don't think Rhythm of War supports it.
Yeah.
The one time we see these two tones combine is when Venli is doing stone shaping things.
Mm-hmm.
And the ideas and themes and feelings and motifs she's getting there are things of like freedom and legacy and perseverance and things like that. So I feel like it's going to be something to the effect of, I mean, obviously freedom by itself is not, it doesn't really incorporate odium in it.
Yeah.
But like the passion to fight for your own, not growth, right? But something in that vein is I think where we want to go, and I haven't been able to figure out a good word for that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Family is in there.
Mm-hmm. I tend to agree with Argent and would like to register my displeasure that the Rhythm of the Tower is not a very good name for the rhythm. Between honor and cultivation.
I'll forward that to Brandon, and I'm sure your concern will be noted.
Oh, yeah. In the revised edition. Yep.
Yes, I'm sure it will be noted.
We're getting rid of Tower Light.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
Brandon writes the stories. Yeah. I think we got most things other than a couple really long mismage questions. I guess let's do. Yeah.
Was one question more from Sasha? Do you think Moash will be more like Gollum or Zuko?
Oh yeah. Ooh, okay. That's kind of an interesting line of thought.
He's for sure more Gollum-y right now.
Yeah.
I don't think Brandon likes Moash. I mean, okay, yeah, shocking revelation, right?
Yeah.
What I mean by that is that. So let me back up for context. In a recent live stream, there was something. There was a question or a comment about Moash, and my impression from like Brandon talking about Moash throughout the recent months and years, and also just conversations with Adam that he has on stream and stuff. My impression is that he is not writing Moash to be the complex and nuanced character a lot of, or some people at least in the fandom, are seeing Moash as. I think in Brandon's head, Moash is a villainous character that has fallen from grace because of his betrayal, and he is now at the bottom of the ladder, and he is there to do villainous things. And all of this nuance that some fans are ascribing to him, Moash, not Brandon, are kind of in the same boat as Bai Shallan is, in that Moash is written in a way that allows for this read, but I don't think that is the intended read, the intended authorial read.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think Brandon is writing him as a Gollum-like character. I think he's writing him as a fallen from grace kind of former friend who now needs to be put down.
Like a dog.
There's not there's not a lot of sympathy in either Rhythm of War or the way that they talk about Moash that makes me like if we look at Zuko, like from very early on, you could see that there were things about Zuko that made you sympathetic to him, and you were like, "Oh, I see why he is this way." Yep. Moash does not. And Moash does have that, but it's not touched on. Like we have not talked about Moash's legitimate class rage in a book and a half, maybe two. You know, like the things that make him sympathetic are not things that are brought up or talked about in a way that makes me believe they will become relevant, which to me is unfortunate because I think he's kind of not super interesting. But
I'm interested to see what he's gonna do next because I really just have no idea what he's gonna do next, with especially with the blindness and stuff. So I guess we'll have to see. Like honestly, I have no idea. So I hope Brandon has a cool plan because I'm out. I don't know. Cool. Well, we got to most things. Yeah, and that's I think that's about it. Sorry we didn't get to all yours, Miss Mage. But
feel free to resubmit next time if we are doing another Q&A. You could always ones we didn't get to, you could throw them in there again.
Yep. I know. So roughly we promised Q&As every quarter. So that'll probably be about what we do. Holidays will be kind of weird though, because holidays were usually very busy, very, very busy.
Yeah, we can fit that somewhere in the next 3 months.
Yeah, maybe before
start
Cytonic.
of next year.
Yeah, but then it'd be past the 3-month mark, right? So it's like, because then that's start of quarter one.
We're not going to do Christmas Eve Q&A.
Oh, yeah.
Where we'd all most prefer to be.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do like early November, right before all the Skyward content drops.
Yeah. Maybe pre Cytonic is probably a pretty good time. But I appreciate all your support on Patreon. I'm sorry for the regular YouTube viewers because I didn't get to really look at chat too much. But I also very much appreciate all of you. The analytics are very important if this content is suggested. So, but no, it is crazy how many people watch our stuff, like genuinely crazy. And it is very humbling to see like what some of our insane viewer numbers on certain things, right? Like our Ishar episode in June has 16,000 views. Like that is kind of crazy. I didn't know that one had quite so many views. So I appreciate all the support. Our Brandon episode got nearly 47,000 views. Which,
yeah, well,
I mean that's not surprising. But Bide Mishram over 26,000 views. So. Which is crazy considering that one is probably one of the longest things. I think that is the longest episode. Terravangian at 25,000 views. And Rhythm of War Reactions, 41,000 views. Sounds about right. But nice. I really appreciate all that. We will do some regular streams. It has been very busy the last few months. You have not seen all the fruits of what we've done, but there are several Era 2 podcasts that you will see in 2022. So we got that. We'll record one on the weekend. We're actually going to be recording 5 videos this next upcoming weekend that you will also not see for a while. So we've been very busy. So yeah, but hopefully 2022 we should have I think we'll have a pretty killer cadence for stuff. So I don't think you will be want for more content, because I would really like if we could have like regular solo videos, because like the 2 weeks in between Shardcasts, like it'd be nice to do a thing. Like I wanted to do this on, you know, an off Shardcast week, right? So then we got a little stuff, and I enjoy the streams. You guys are all super lovely, and there's like no toxic chat. So you guys are really nice. Like all of our streams, lovely chat. Yep. Honestly, like really nice. Will you be doing a podcast for each Skyward novella or just for Cytonic? Well, definitely Cytonic. The question is how we do the novellas. Like I think there's probably 2 ways that could go. There could just be a Skyward novellas one, and we just do them all, and we go through all of them. Potentially, we could maybe do like shorter Shardcast episodes that's like going into each one maybe a little more frequently, but like it's got to be one of those 2. But we will absolutely be talking about the novellas for sure. So I don't know. I just want to say the thumbnails have improved a lot in the last year or so. Just something I noticed. That is not a coincidence. Yes, you can thank Paleo for a lot of hard work on thumbnail fonting. We're definitely trying to style things. I do think we'll probably want to go back and style a lot of the stuff because I still haven't styled the thumbnails in kind of this new way, because just changing a thumbnail can really help. I know I did some of like the important Oathbringer ones that is literally just an audio file with just the thumbnail as the video. But if you put a nice thumbnail on it, people will watch it. So
lots of moving things like 1 pixel to the right, and I'm like, does that look different? Everyone looks very different. Everyone looks very different, David. And I'm like, okay.
Well, I had no idea how to do it, so I think I used like some like default Windows thing. Where I just like I just put in the audio file, put in the image, render. All right. Do I know what the settings do? Not at all. But I mean, the video quality doesn't really matter when it's a still image. But yeah, so we will be doing that. We will get to be changing those thumbnails into the new version, because the new thumbnails are really nice, and I think people really like them. They look very spiffy, I think, and I appreciate your notice, because most times people don't notice when things are going well, right? Like people are like, there hasn't been a video. Like if you are on like another content creator and they say they're going to do a daily series, and let's say they take 2 weeks off and don't tell anything about it, and then you're like, where are my daily videos? Where are they? Right? Like that tends to be what happens. But when things are going smoothly, usually not, you know. People are like, yeah, it's good. Nice. I watched it. I generally didn't do anything. So anyway, thanks a bunch. And we will see you all next time for the Kaladin episode. So that will be next. And so enjoy all of our shorter haircuts, because that was recorded in June. Yeah. So
and our past selves.
Young and innocent.
Yeah, I mean, well, so if you wanted the Kaladin episode, well, you can blame patrons, because we very occasionally do votes on what Shardcast episode should come out next. Granted, the problem, right, with WOBs and stuff is we had to do those soon, so that kind of switches the order. But
we need to do FanX.
That might be one that we do later. Are there a lot of spicy FanX ones?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like half done. I haven't. There's at least one more day's worth of signing line that has not been, at least as of yesterday, had not been snipped or looked at.
We literally have 2 spare slots for the entire rest of 2021. Like, man, that might have to wait till January. I'm gonna be totally honest.
People love months later analysis of WOBs.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And look, actually, the WOB episodes are very popular. They're very popular. I'm surprised how popular those are, because I don't think it's that interesting. But there's just a bunch of fans who's like, look, I don't really read the WOBs, but I want some analysis, and they like the analysis. So that is very cool. How much people
maybe
like
we can stream those. I think that would work.
Well, so the problem with streaming them is that means I need to have the images ready, and that is work.
Mm-hmm. We could.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do, like, if we do our quarterly thing, we could, I guess, how far away is Cytonic release? I think that's still 2 months.
November.
Yeah.
2 months,
End of November, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a little far. Okay.
Well, I think I will say, I think the next live stream Shardcast, I think that might not actually be a patron exclusive one. Because I think actually doing a stream for State of Sanderson, that's a podcast, I actually think that is a format that could work really nicely, right? Where, like, if people have ideas in chat, usually I don't really like putting interaction with chat as a VOD, because people tend to not really enjoy that. But like State of Sanderson, I think we could probably get away with that. And that would be just fun, because we can do it that same day, then you get it immediately and you don't have to wait for editing. And so if it comes out faster, that's just kind of good. So, and then you can hear all the ums and pauses. And so if you support us on Patreon, you can watch the episode that's coming out October 9th and watch all the pauses that I cut out and the times that people talk over each other. That's basically what we do. And David, I'm surprised your internet went so well, because sometimes we have to just deal with, your internet going out. Like, your internet was flawless today. Congrats.
What's happening now is my CPU is like overclocking for some reason. That's what's going on. But
wait, how is it overclocking without you making it overclock?
I used the word overclock perhaps incorrectly. What happens is, that was just me using a buzzword that I know.
Buzzword. It's a buzzword, is it?
It's presumably spiking.
For whatever reason, like, I'm just sitting here with like Google Chrome and Discord open, and it hits like 100% on Task Manager, and I'm like looking at the top things, and it adds up to like 37, and I'm like, where is this 100%? So I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard things about the latest version of Discord causing CPU spikes. Now, I've heard that specifically for Windows 11, but maybe it's just a Discord problem.
Yeah. I'm always having tech issues in the spiritual realm.
That's true. Mateo asks, can you just capture the Google window and scroll through the WABs? I mean, we could, but then I'm just saying it's more production. Yes, we totally could do that. But I don't know. And Lyriel says we don't mind the ums and pauses at all.
Yeah, no.
I do think there is, like, David, remember that endowment episode? You were talking to me about some episode, and you were like surprised how tight the episode turned out once it was done editing. And so I really think it keeps it snappy. So that is kind of important to me. That's one of those things that I feel like would lead to less viewership, but would not be a thing that people super notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way, right?
When Eric asked us a question on the stream, like, I don't think many of us had seen them before. You can see there's like a 5-second processing stop where everyone goes, and like that's what you miss, is instead like the first person just goes, here's my thought, instead of and it just looks like we're geniuses that instantly have thoughts, as opposed to people who have to think about stuff.
Especially for like the audio listeners, like you can't see those reactions and it's just blank space. Like that's not a great experience.
As an audio listener, would be weird.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just blabbing, so I got stuff to do. I got exams to grade and be angry about, so I'm going to go do that. So I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Peace.
Cheers, everyone.
Caw.